advises residents to contact the Kern Mosquito and Vector Control for a free inspection and a cleaning. The mission at Kern County is expanding to meet a growing need. They currently serve around 700 meals a day. Today, they're breaking ground on a 13,000 square foot kitchen and dining vocational transitional housing project. They call it part of the Lasting Solutions Building a Better Bakersfield initiative. The kitchen will be bigger with a dining room that can seat up to 180 people, a vocational center, and housing for graduates of one-year addiction recovery programs. I'm Bill Robbins in the KERN newsroom with news every half hour or when it breaks on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
What do you think, this is the Army where you shoot them a mile away? You gotta get up close like this. Bada bing, you know their brains all over your nice Ivy League suit.
It's the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Now make sure you leave the house when you make the call. You understand me? You hear me? Call from an outside
Cut
line.
off the music after.
Call in or text to 661-842-KERN. That's 661-842-5376. Listen live at KERNradio.com. Now, the host you've been waiting all day for. Live from the KERN studio, here's Ralph Bailey.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Ralph Bailey Show, News Talk 96.1, AM 1180, KERN, where we're streaming live at KERNradio.com. I've asked Chris to not run any music today. I don't think it's appropriate, as we still trying to I don't know if makes sense is the phrase, but just try to come to terms with the fact that a 31-year-old man who clearly was born to be an influencer, Charlie Kirk, dead at the age of 31. At the age of 16, Charlie Kirk got involved in politics. At 16, he was involved with the U.S. Senate race with a man by the name of Mark Kirk, no relations. At 17, I think his senior year in high school, he started a drive to change the prices at his cafeteria at his high school. I bring that up just to illustrate that something that I talk about all the time. There's certain traits and characteristics that can't be learned, can't be taught. They're innate. Leadership, charisma, and the character trait to influence and try to make a difference in society and people's lives. It can't be taught. It can't be learned. It can't be read about in a pamphlet or on the internet. It's something that you're born with. Because I don't know about you, but I don't know many 16-year-olds who are involved in Senate campaigns. And I don't know if I mentioned this, but the man's name, ironically, was Mark Kirk. There's no relationship to Charlie. And I was just telling Randy, I almost feel ashamed because my freshman year in college, I got involved in a mayoral campaign in Atlanta that involved Andrew Young, a man who had served as UN ambassador to Jimmy Carter. And I liked Andy Young, and I certainly wanted him to be mayor, but I got involved because they were going to feed us. A bunch of us on my floor at my dorm room got involved because they heard that they fed volunteers and we wouldn't have to eat in the cafeteria. I was not influenced by the gene or the character trait to influence people. I just didn't want to eat in the cafeteria. And this guy, at a tender age, was trying to influence a Senate race. And then at 19, he started a group that would ultimately lead to the organization that he led at his death, Turning Point USA, that he started at the age of 26. And at 31, he died a man who had the ear of the leader of the free world. At Chris's age, he had the ear of the President of the United States. He had dined with the President of the United States. And his voice has been snuffed. And JR, as I was walking by, invited me in. And as I said on his show, I've always been grateful for the fact that I was born in the 1960s, but I vaguely remember the 1960s. I remember living in Nashville for a very short time where my sister was born, where my dad was in med school, and I vaguely remember New York. I remember Central Park. I remember living on the naval base. I remember the school that I went to, but I really don't remember when Dr. King was shot. I don't remember when Robert Kennedy was shot. I have no memory of Malcolm X being shot. And President Kennedy was shot about a year after my birth. And I always thought, and I've always said this on the show, as many of you know, that I thought that the 1960s was the most, outside of 1860s and the Civil War, and obviously the Revolution, but the most violent decade of our history. And now, 25 years into the 21st century, and I can remember being in 6th grade and writing an essay about where we would be in the 21st century. And everybody thought we'd be the Jetsons, we'd be flying around in the sky, and race relations would be perfect. We'd all get along, and that crime would be at an extremely low level, that we would have solved the poverty problem, and violence would not exist on the level that we saw, because I, in my lifetime, saw the rise in gangs in the 1970s. And now, as I said on JR's show, we're 25 years into this century, and we've seen the husband of a Congress member get bapped in the head with a hammer in his home. We've seen Gabby Giffords get shot in the head at an open door event. Steve Scalise getting shot at a softball practice just a couple of miles from the White House. And again, as I said earlier, all but for the turn of a head, we would have witnessed on live television the assassination of a would-be president. And all but for a fast, smart-moving Secret Service agent, we might have seen the assassination of a president on his own damn golf course. In fact, Ryan Ruth's trial is underway probably as we speak. And I think of all the things that I've thought about today in these couple of hours, can the pendulum swing back? Is this irreparable? Because the root of this, clearly, the root of all of this is the fact that we have a pandemic. We have a pandemic that makes COVID look like the common cold. And while we had fast-acting legislators that went after COVID, in fact, they called it warp speed, we are going backwards when it comes to the pandemic of mental health. We are stripping funds away that is intended to mental health. And I'm not trying to imply simply throwing money at an issue can solve it. We talk a great game about mental health. Hell, we talk about it damn near every day. We talked about it in great length yesterday in connection with the death of the 23-year-old Ukrainian girl in Charlotte, North Carolina. But have we truly done anything significant? Have we truly made any step forward in terms of dealing with mental health, in terms of institutionalizing people that simply don't belong on the streets? And if prison isn't the answer, then we have to go back to institutionalizing people. We have to recognize that there are some people that will never, ever fit in our society. That's the reality. And until we look in the mirror and say, we have met the enemy, and he is us. It's not guns. It's not laws. It's us. I think in part it is my generation. We talk about this constantly. We have lost a generation of young men. Now, I have no idea the age of the suspect, who, by the way, is still at large. At the site at Utah Valley University, a man was pointed out. They obviously quickly moved against this guy and took him to whatever police headquarters there in Utah, at Orem. And that can be, you can eliminate somebody immediately. All you have to do is examine his hands very quickly and discover if there's gun residue on his fingers. And he was quickly released. And the shooter is still at large. All we know, or what is being reported, and again, as we again just recently talked about, when these events happen and everyone is rushing to try to get information out, it is the worst time to get information out, is because it's when the information is incredibly unreliable and everybody is rushing to get it out there. So you got to take everything that I'm reporting or repeating. I'm not reporting anything. I'm repeating with a grain of salt. But they believe that the shooter was somewhere in one of the buildings surrounding the university, that he was 200 yards away. That's pretty much universally being reported, which ironically, and again, that's why I say by the mere turn of a head, we have the assassination of a would-be president, because the Butler shooter was closer. The Butler shooter was estimated to be 150 yards away. They're saying that this man or woman was 200 yards away, which tells us a couple of things. I think it's safe to say a rifle was used, more than likely had a scope, and I'm willing to guess that he had some sort of military experience or some sort of marksmanship ability, because I'm sure most of you have seen the video, or at least the video leading up to the shooting, and you could see where Charlie Kirk was sitting. He was sitting under one of those awnings that we use, or many people use, to keep out the sun at outdoor events. And that's a hell of a shot from 200 yards, coming underneath an awning with a good large group of people around him. That's a hell of a shot. So my just pure irresponsible speculation is that this was a military man or a woman or someone that had some sort of marksmanship experience, which the Butler shooter, thank God, did not have. It may have led to the president surviving that. Fox News, I thought, had the best coverage. In fact, they were the first to report it. I just happened to be watching the news mix when they were the first to break the story, because one of their reporters, Justin Chavitz, former congressman in Utah and a dear friend of Charlie Kirk's, was at the event and actually saw the shooting. And this is why the initial reporting is so flaky. He thought it was someone in the crowd. He saw the shooting. He saw Charlie go down, and it was so violent, he thought it was that close. But a rifle would be just as powerful from 200 yards as a Glock would be from 50 yards. And JR had the video and asked me if I wanted to see it this morning or early this afternoon. And I said no. And then another friend sent it to me, and I kind of knew what it was, but I was just curious, and I opened it up, and I wish I hadn't. It reminded me much of the Kennedy shooting, where he's sitting and the shot comes from his left, and you can clearly see it enter his neck, and you can see him collapsed to his right. And when JR, I first texted JR and told him Charlie Kirk's been shot. And then he called me and told me that it was in the neck. And I, as a son of a physician, and again, we talked about this just yesterday, as someone who has actually seen wounds, because as I said yesterday, we were talking about this in connection with the Ukrainian woman. If you've never seen, and many people haven't, if you've never seen an open wound, a deep open wound bleed, you really have no idea how quickly the body desanguinates. You really don't. I've seen it twice. There was an accident on 24th Street near my house where a girl had a very small cut, but a very deep cut. And she just was bleeding and trying to hold it with her hand. And we tried to tell her, we got to get some kind of material on that to stop the bleeding. And then once when I was a kid, I was about 26, 27 years old, and I was working for the LA Sentinel. And we were located on 43rd and Central, right in the heart of South Central. And we used to stay up all night on Tuesdays to put the paper together. And very uncharacteristically, I walked up to the Jack in the Box at about 7:30 or 8 o'clock that night. And I would normally never do that. In fact, they would tell us not to leave the building at night. And I was about a block from the Jack in the Box, and I heard a pop, pop, pop. And to be honest, I didn't really think anything of it until I saw people running across the street to the Jack in the Box. So I ran up, and I was one of the first 5 or 6 people that got there. And as we would later find out, it was a gangbanger who had been pinned into the drive-through and had been shot once in the face, which really wasn't that bloody of a shot. It's kind of a clean shot that went through his face. But he was shot twice in the torso. And the only way I can describe it, it looked as if somebody had taken a bucket of red paint and just poured it on his chest, like a gallon. His shirt was soaked. And so when JR told me that it was a neck shot, I said, he's gone. The carotid artery, the jugular, it's just, you have no idea. I mean, he was probably dead before they got him to the hospital. And as they did with John Kennedy, who was dead before he got to Parkland, they worked on him because of who he was. And maybe there's some miracle, but I think he was dead before he got to the hospital. The unfortunate thing is we had a decision to make. What do we do? Do we continue with our show? And I thought that was best to do rather than harp on this all afternoon. We'll talk about it again in the 5 o'clock hour, but we do have guests scheduled for today, and we are going to talk with the folks from SSD Alarm. They have a 23rd annual Hero Appreciation event. We'll talk with them at the bottom of the hour. And Howard Marcus will join us. He'll have an interesting perspective, being a former federal agent. And then I guess I've got to do topics. Excerpts from Kamala Harris's book have been released, where, to no one's surprise, she has thrown Joe Biden and the Biden administration under the bus. I'll read you a couple of excerpts, and we'll recap the death of Charlie Kirk and the Five, and talk a little bit more about DeCarlos Brown Jr. We have the audio of him talking with his sister. His sister visited him at the prison, and there's audio of their discussion. And we have Jason Chaffetz, too, as well. Do we? Okay, great. Thank you. We have some audio from Jason Chaffetz, the Fox reporter and former Utah congressman who was at Utah Valley University at the time of the shooting. We'll go ahead and take a break and come right back. It's the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Cesar Chavez, it could have been Martin Luther King Jr., it could have been Buck Owens. It does not matter. At a time like this, when we don't have the money, how are we going to spend, from what I'm told, over $1 million to do a street name change? It's just not the right time to do it.
The JR Show, weekdays at 2 p.m.
Hope you join us every Thursday,
All right,
particularly
I'll
at
do that. How much
4:30,
time I got?
when Daniel Petrie from Messmaker and Petrie Wealth Advisors joins
I'm
us.
just getting my
Daniel
water.
gives us a weekly update on the deficit and its growth. We look at silver and gold, and obviously the stock market and all kind of economic issues that most importantly impact you. But again, you guys know what Messmaker and Petrie Wealth Advisors are all about. They're all about retirement. I keep telling you guys, it's one of the smartest moves that I've ever made financially. Call Daniel at 395-9400, 395-9400 if retirement is in your near future. Or just tune in Thursdays at 4:30 when he joins us every week. Daniel Petrie and the folks at Messmaker and Petrie Wealth Advisors.
This broadcast is for informational purposes only. Does not constitute a solicitation or offer
Oh,
to
yeah.
sell any security, future,
Oh, yeah.
option, or other financial instrument, or to offer or provide
And
any
I'm sure they
investment
will.
or other services to any person in any jurisdiction by Daniel Petrie or MPWA, Inc., DBA, Messmaker, and Petrie Wealth Advisors. Any views expressed in this broadcast by us are prepared based
I
upon
knew we
information
should have
available to
done
us at
the
the time.
yes.
We are
Should
under no
have
obligation to
done
update our views.
Please meet Paul
I should have
Sheldon's client,
realized it would
Vivian
happen.
Rushing.
Hi, my name is Vivian Rushing. I am a client of Paul Sheldon. They helped me get everything in order. I had no clue what I was doing.
The press
And
conference?
They were
All right, let's do
wonderful.
that
The
then.
staff is amazing. Lynn and Kelly go out of their way to make you feel comfortable when you walk through
All
the
right,
doors
cool.
and make sure you have everything that you need. Paul is very accommodating. He uses himself as an example to help you understand the process of the insurance and what benefits you should be looking at and what you shouldn't be looking at and how to go about getting it together. I have recommended Paul Sheldon. Just a couple of days ago, I was in line to get my medications and this gentleman was talking about retiring and didn't know what to do. I told him, contact Paul Sheldon. He's the best. I just want to say thank you, Paul Sheldon. You're wonderful and your staff is amazing.
When Medicare matters, our team has the answers. Team Paul Sheldon.
398-2298.
Carpet Outlet Plus. Every day is sale day.
No one can beat us, no one can touch us. You won't find better prices. Shop and compare, we don't care. Take a look our way and come into
Carpet Outlet Plus. Every day is sale day.
Oh no, Dad, I spilled juice on the carpet.
Don't worry, kiddo. We have stain-resistant carpet from Carpet Outlet Plus.
Dad, Lucky dumped his water bowl all over the new floors.
Everything is fine. We have brand new waterproof floors from Carpet Outlet Plus. You can find everything you need for family-proof floor at Bakersfield's best flooring store. Now offering 1 year, no interest finance.
They found him.
What's that?
Suspects in custody.
Suspect is in custody?
Carpet Outlet Plus. Every day is sale day.
The Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show, live 9 to noon. Now back to the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
So we have an update on the situation with Charlie Kirk. You're listening to the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. Can we take this? Let's take this.
Sir, Charlie Kirk was shot at an event at the Utah Valley University. He was taken by private vehicle to Timpanogos Hospital, where he later passed. The Utah Department of Public Safety will be co-leading this criminal investigation to find this killer, along with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. We're working in unison with the County Sheriff's Office, the local police department, and the University Police Department, all of which have been very cooperative and fully engaged in this process. Shortly after the shooting, we did have a suspect in custody, George Zinn, but he was released from custody after we identified that he did not match the shooting suspect and was not an accurate person of interest. However, he has been booked into the county jail by Utah Valley University Police Department for obstruction of justice. We do still have an active investigation for the person of interest. This incident occurred with a large crowd around. There was one shot fired and one victim. While the suspect is at large, we believe this was a targeted attack towards one individual. This is a tragic moment in our state and in our country.
Why the same?
As we heal, we encourage everyone who's struggling with news of the incident to call 988, our state
Why are they
mental
saying no
health
suspect?
crisis line. In addition to that, our partners with the FBI will also be discussing other ways we can communicate through the public for tips and other information. Thank you.
I thought you said they had a suspect.
It's in the monitoring system.
He said no suspect.
On behalf of the FBI, we extend our sincerest condolences to the family and friends of Charlie Kirk.
All right, let's go.
Our thoughts are
All right, we're going to cut out. So again, we had a report that there was a suspect in custody. As you heard, that was live. And they are saying, officials there in Utah are saying that the suspect is still at large. Obviously, we'll follow this throughout the broadcast, try to keep you updated. In the meantime, we're going to welcome in the guys from SSD Alarm. They'll tell you about their 23rd annual Hero Appreciation Event coming up right after these words. Don't go anywhere.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Kirk, who rose from a teenage conservative campus activist to a top Salem talk show host, culture warrior.
Oh, Lord
now
have
ally of
mercy.
President Trump, was shot and killed Wednesday during one of his trademark public appearances at a college.
Maybe they have
in
a
Utah.
person of
He was
interest, but they're not
31
calling him a
years old.
suspect yet.
FBI Director
Yeah.
Kash Patel says a suspect in
yeah.
the shooting is now.
I'm
in
playing some golf
custody.
this weekend. That's all I
Kirk
know.
died doing what made him a potent political force, rallying conservatives on a college campus, this time Utah Valley University. The event was kicking off a planned series of Kirk college appearances from Colorado to Virginia, dubbed the American Comeback Tour. His shooting was one of an escalating number of attacks on political figures. This has been an SRN News special report. I'm Keith Peters.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. From the KERN Newsroom, your live and local news update on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
I'm Bill Robbins. A man has been sentenced to 11 years behind bars in the case of the Superior Grocers homicide. It happened in the store parking lot on New Year's Day 2023 after Demetrius Ford Jr. threw a punch. An employee hit his head on the concrete. It all happened when Ford got mad at an employee for taking a picture of him and his truck. A man accused of raping a massage parlor employee in downtown Bakersfield is facing 6 felony charges, including rape, second-degree robbery, and other offenses. Javier Quintero allegedly entered the business, pushed the victim into a chair, and sexually assaulted her. She says she didn't resist because she feared for her life. Quintero is due in court Thursday and Friday. I'm Bill Robbins in the KERN newsroom with news every half hour or when it breaks on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-1783. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS
How you doing?
problems. We have over 1,000 five-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business
your name?
Bureau.
I'm
You don't
sorry.
need to be
Are you
afraid
Nick?
of the
Okay,
IRS
okay.
any longer. End
Oh,
your
you
tax
gotta
nightmare
pronounce it for me,
today
Nick.
by visiting us online at
Mihalopoulos.
TRA.com
I got
or
that.
call
I got that.
800-575
As I often talk about on the show, my
That's
very first girlfriend was Greek.
800-575-1783.
Constance
Tax
Tsoulis.
Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Must qualify for enrollment. Results may vary.
Thursday edition, Clay Travis, Buck Sexton Show. We'll break down the absolute latest, the ongoing fallout of the awful murder of Arena Zarutzka in Charlotte. Also, the battle heats up for what's going to happen on Capitol Hill when it comes to all of Trump.
You got about 20 seconds.
Okay.
9 to noon. News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
You're listening to The Ralph Bailey Show. Catch me weekday morning 6 to 9 a.m. on First Look with Scott Cox, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
3:33 on this Wednesday. And again, before I get to my first guest, we kind of chewed on this, on whether or not to go on with the regular program this afternoon. And the decision was, life goes on. We'll certainly keep you updated on what is going on. There's a news conference currently going on dealing with a possible person of interest. Again, the initial shooter or the initial person identified as the shooter was not, in fact, the shooter, although he's been arrested for obstruction of justice, which means he probably refused to give his identification. That's what that normally means. We'll keep you updated throughout the program. But in the meantime, on a much, much brighter note, the folks from SSD Alarm are here with us. And let me see if I can get this right. Nick Mihalopoulos.
You nailed it, Ralph.
Did I nail it? Outstanding. They've got their 23rd annual Hero Appreciation event coming up.
Yeah.
Nick, tell us all about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's our 23rd annual Hero Appreciation event. We do this every September 11th to honor our local first responders and also to remember the tragic events of September 11th, 2001. What that looks like is we have any first responder, whether it's police or fire personnel, they can come to our office at 2701 Fruitvale Avenue, and we'll serve them free Salty's barbecue.
Nice.
We got some giveaway prizes, some raffle prizes for them as well. But it's a time for us to just pause for a moment and say, hey, we got local heroes right here in Bakersfield, whether it's police officers or firemen, and we want to take a moment to honor them and really tell them thank you for what they do in our community.
Yeah. It's amazing, when you stop and think about what these people do.
Yes.
Because I've always stated, I'll show it to you, Nick. I've got a yellow streak down the back of my back, wider than the Mississippi. I'm a coward. I can't imagine running down an alley with a guy with a gun chasing after him, or running to the sound of bullets, or running into a burning building.
Yeah.
I mean, what these people do is absolutely irreplaceable, and it is outstanding that someone takes the time to stop and thank these people. And it's no surprise that my good friend Salty, Jeff Salters, is involved. I was just at his event put on by the Police Activities League that honored him as their hero of the year for all that he does. So it's no surprise that he's involved in this.
Yeah. Jeff came on board with us about 5 years ago during COVID. We switched to a model where they could come to our location because we used to actually cater lunch in their offices, all the substations and all the fire stations in town. But COVID obviously limited that. So we did a drive-through model where men and women who are on patrol could come to our location for their lunch break.
Nice.
Or the police teams, the fire teams, the whole substation sometimes will get in the fire truck, drive over, and they'll eat lunch at our place.
That's pretty cool.
And, we got a conference room in the front that will just crank the AC on and say, hey, if you guys want to go in there, especially we'll usually get a fleet of highway patrol motorcycle cops or BPD on their motorcycles to come through. And it's the least we can do for these heroes in our town. It's something that we regularly are doing as a company because we install and monitor fire life safety systems, whether it's a security system or a video verification system. On a regular basis, we're calling Kern County Sheriff, Bakersfield Police, and saying, hey, there's a dangerous situation here. There's a robbery or a burglary in progress, and we're dispatching them. And we're saying, hey, we want you to go run towards the dangerous situation. Same thing with fire alarms. If there's a building on fire and we're calling them, our monitoring center has to be the one to make that call, and they are quick to answer and say, we're en route, we're on our way. So just like you said, I can't imagine running towards those dangerous situations, but we're grateful to have a community like Bakersfield that honors our first responders.
Yeah. Nick Mihalopoulos is our guest from SSD Alarm. Talk more about your alarm system. Is it just simply commercial or residential as well?
We do both. So primarily we do commercial. So offices like the one that we're in right now, or warehouses, commercial, whether it's shipping and receiving or, service industries. If you're a plumber, a contractor, we design security systems to prevent loss before they happen and to protect people. So if it's a camera system that we install that watches the outside of your building, we also offer monitoring of that. We offer virtual guard solutions where you could have a camera watching your yard. If we see somebody breaking in, we can actually talk down to them and say, hey, you're trespassing. The police are being dispatched. Leave immediately, to get them to leave before they steal a catalytic converter, before they steal thousands of dollars in tools. And additionally, we do that for residences, the normal residential home security systems, commercial systems, but also larger commercial fire alarm systems for anything from a, 100,000 square foot warehouse to, a 10,000 square foot building. We do anything low voltage.
And I don't mean to embarrass you, but you guys, as they say in the South, must be in the tall cotton, because I don't know anyone. We always talk about this. My phrase is, the minute you pull your key out of your door, you're on somebody's camera.
You're on camera.
You're on somebody's camera. So you guys must be doing extremely well, because I don't know any business in the 21st century that can operate now, unfortunately, without this kind of system.
Yeah, the reality is that today you have to be proactive in the protection of your business, the protection of your home. And as we know, even from today, things are unpredictable at times. And the least we can do is offer some peace of mind to give people, a level of security and to try and prevent losses before they happen. So you're absolutely correct. I wish that we had more companies that thought like that. Sometimes it's a secondary response. They like to be reactive rather than proactive. But either way, we're there to provide them with that service. And, doing a business like that allows us to do charity events like this, where we're able to give back. And obviously, we're partnering with some great partners this year. Jeff Salters is amazing. And we're just honored to be able to say thank you to all the police and firemen that serve our community so faithfully.
What can you do? Let's say I'm a homeowner listening to the Ralph Bailey Show, and I don't have the security in my home. I don't have a Ring camera. I don't have cameras. What can you do for this house?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're in a home and you don't have any type of security, I'd say number one, a simple interior security system would be the first step, just to be able to monitor if a door or a window is opened at night, or if there's motion inside of the house whenever you're not there. That's a simple thing you can do. If you wanted to take the next step, I would suggest doing exterior cameras. Whether it's something as simple as a doorbell camera or a hardwired camera system. Hardwired meaning it's hardwired to power and it's hardwired to your network. It's not a wireless camera.
Right.
Because as you probably know, wireless devices, whether it's your laptop that's on Wi-Fi or it's a Bluetooth speaker, oftentimes it loses connectivity.
Yeah.
A lot of the what I would call consumer grade solutions, they're wireless and they lose connectivity easily. So we really strive to hardwire all of our systems and do it to a commercial standard, even for our residential clients. So that would be the first step. Interior protection, external protection. And really for residents, that would be the entry level. And if you ever are interested in that, you can contact us directly through our website at ssdalarm.com. And you can also call us directly here. We have a local line, which is just 661-588-HELP, HELP. That's 661-588-4357.
Yeah. And we'll leave you with this. Let's talk about the event. How did you guys get this up on its feet? Whose brilliant idea was this?
It was internal ownership. Our ownership is family owned. We're a family owned company, and our ownership has its roots in law enforcement. And so in 2001, whenever September 11th happens, the next year we just started to have this response and honor our local first responders. It started off as a grassroots effort just internally to bring in lunches to fire and police personnel, and it has grown into now the 23rd annual Hero Appreciation Event, where we've got, we'll plan on serving 500 first responders tomorrow, and it happens from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So we're dishing out barbecue, and Jeff's gonna bring a barbecue this year, from what I've heard, on site, because the response has been so great that we're struggling to get all of those meals out. So we said, let's bring the barbecue. That way they're right there and we're just dishing it out as soon as they come.
Yeah, just treat it like a catering.
Exactly. I mean, who doesn't want to have a barbecue with some of the best people in our community, the police and fire?
Yeah, absolutely. Really nice to meet you, man.
Absolutely.
You sound very, very knowledgeable about your company. And again, like I say, you must be doing gangbusters. And it's great that you're giving back to the community for this event. And it's amazing to me. 23 years? That is incredible.
Yeah.
As we celebrate 9/11 or commemorate 9/11 on Thursday.
I appreciate you having me on. This is, I can't say, I'm not like blowing smoke or trying to get in your good graces. I listen to the Ralph Bailey Show every day.
Well,
I was aware that your first girlfriend was Greek and her name was Constance, for sure. So it's an honor to be here. I brought you one of our 9/11 shirts for you. I think I messed up though.
Good to do.
I brought you an extra large.
I'll swim a little bit, but that's all right. That's all right.
Bro,
Let's hope I never grow back into it.
You're
but
thinning down. You're looking
I am,
good these
I am,
days.
I am.
So
Thank
I'm gonna fix it. I'll bring you a large.
Don't
I'll
worry
bring
about
it
it.
back to
Don't
you,
worry
sir.
about that.
I got a ton of them. I'll make sure you get a large.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
Really nice meeting you.
Thank you. You as well.
Yes.
I have a text message asking if paramedics and EMTs are included in the event.
Did you hear him?
So primarily it's focused for police and fire personnel, but if you guys come down here, we're not going to turn you away. Historically, it has been for police and fire personnel because those are the people we dispatch as a company for security and fire alarms. But in years past and even this year, if you come down and you're an EMT or a paramedic, I'm not going to turn you away.
Outstanding. Outstanding. Nick Rialopoulos, our friend from SSD Alarm. Again, the event is obviously Thursday from 10 to 2.
Yes, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on the corner of Rosedale and Fruitvale. That's 2701 Fruitvale Avenue.
Outstanding. Keep up the great work, man. Really nice meeting you.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you.
We're going to take a break, come right back. We've got more on the Ralph Bailey Show on this horrendous Wednesday, right here on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
News Talk 96.1
Sweet.
and
Thank you,
AM
man. That was
1180
good. That was really good.
KERN.
Appreciate it. Nice work.
Thursday's Armstrong and Getty Show. How did
Yeah,
Kamala
no
Harris write a book when there's no indication she could read a book? Anyway, we'll have more highlights from that.
Oh, that was harsh. Plus, Putin continuing to poke NATO in the eye, teetering on the brink of a wider war. What is going on with that? So much happening in the news. We'll have it for you on the next Armstrong and Getty Show.
Weekdays noon to 2 on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
It's that man again, Ralph Bailey from Sangera Subaru. One of the best things I admire about Subaru, how they give back to our community. And the start of the school year is the perfect time
I had
to
a whole show
recognize
now.
our teachers
I was gonna talk
and
about
principals
Kamala.
with Subaru's
Still will, I
VIP
guess.
Educator Program.
You
Now,
hear what
through
she
October
said?
31st at
Oh,
Sangera Subaru, teachers, principals, or assistants of pre-K through 12th grade are eligible to receive
totally threw Joe
$500
under the
off the
bus.
purchase or lease of a brand new Subaru. That's right.
I predicted that.
$500
I
in
said she's
savings
gonna do
plus utilizing Subaru's monthly sales incentive.
Yeah.
So if you're a teacher, principal, or assistant, call Sangera Subaru at 661-836-3737 or stop by and see my dear friends Damon Culberts and Hassan Levy. The whole Subaru team is ready to help, but it's only good through October 31st. Sangera Subaru, paving the way for a better community.
Offer available August 1st through October 31st and subject to change. Cannot be combined with any other VIP programs, but can be combined with retailer or consumer incentives. This offer applies to active classroom teachers, principals, and vice principals of pre-K through 12 schools.
Reporting live again from the Santa Margarita Ranch. We're receiving reports that this Christmas, you're invited to climb aboard the enchanting Pacific Coast Railroad's Jingle Bell Express for a one-of-a-kind journey from the Central Coast to Santa's Village. Everyone, including this astute reporter, knows that the only way for non-elves to get to the North Pole is on real trains, and theirs include original Disney train cars. It's also being reported that on your journey, you'll pass through wonderful wonders of Christmas lights and sights. Then when you arrive at Santa's Village, there will be a captivating Christmas-themed magic show, a charming Christmas market, adorable pony rides, and more food, fun, and frivolity than ever. This just in, a reminder that the Jingle Bell Express only runs for a limited time from November 28th to December 21st, and tickets sell out fast. But don't worry if your plans change, because this reporter has it on good authority that your tickets can change too. So make sure you reserve your seats on the Jingle Bell Express by going to christmas@themargarita.com before the Christmas train.
And they are reporting that the FBI says that the suspect is in custody as of like 3:30.
Okay.
Flirting, grooving, you still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
I'm JR Flores. Catch my show, The JR Show, weekdays at 2 p.m. Now, back to the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
It is 3:46 on this Wednesday, 10th day of September. You're listening to the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 AM 1180 KERN to update you on the assassination of radio talk show host and influencer Charlie Kirk, who, as many of you know, is part of the AGM family. He was my successor. He followed me at 6 o'clock here on our radio station, but Kash Patel, the FBI director, has posted on social media that the shooting suspect had been taken into custody. But as you all heard live on our air at a news conference a few minutes ago, Utah officials described an individual in custody only as a person of interest who is being interviewed about the shooting, and that the investigation was continuing. We will continue to update you throughout the program and confirm whether or not a suspect has been found, whether the weapon has been found or any shell casings. They believe the shooting took place in one of the buildings surrounding the campus, surrounding the open air event that Mr. Kirk was hosting. And you can bet a couple of things. Open air events are over. I don't think you're ever going to see an open air event again. Perhaps with the President of the United States, where, well, I was about to say where they can provide him protection, but not even in Butler, Pennsylvania could they do that. That was just sheer incompetence. But I'm assuming that Megyn Kelly has canceled her tour. Chris, can you confirm that?
I cannot fully confirm that, but I think that is in the works as of right now.
I think it's pretty safe to say,
Yeah.
because for not only for her own safety, but Mr. Kirk was part of her tour. They both were coming here to Bakersfield, and on November 20th, we're expected to have an event that included Victor Davis Hanson at the Dignity Health Arena. I'm pretty certain that that is going to be canceled. In the meantime, and do you know what's bizarre about today? I was going to come in here and lead with, man, am I in just good spirits, temperament, whatever. Because I had a doctor appointment this morning that went extremely well. All my numbers are great. My cholesterol, my bad cholesterol, my good cholesterol. Shockingly, my liver is in great shape. My kidneys are somewhat damaged. That's due to the medication that I take. But from what I understand, the level is 20 and below to be considered damaged. I'm at 56. So Dr. Khatri felt that I'm in pretty good shape kidney-wise, but we got to keep an eye on that at my age. The only bad news I received is I'm short in vitamin D, which is pretty common. And particularly given the fact that I haven't been out in the sun much in the last 3 or 4 months. And my testosterone, which has been historically low throughout my life, is pretty low for my age, which is kind of frightening for, and I don't mean to be creepy or inappropriate, but kind of afraid for the future of my sex life, because that kind of tends to mean that those two words that no man wants to say out loud, erectile dysfunction, could very well be in the near future. And I'm not trying to pretend that it's never happened, because for most men, it's happened once or twice, and every man says the very same thing. This is the first time this never happened to me before. Happened to me once when I was 30. Ooh. Literally. Ooh. Yeah, it was more of a mental thing.
Yeah.
It was with a really, really good friend who I'd been friends with for like 3 years.
Yeah, once you can't get over that mental block sometimes.
And it was just a weird circumstance where we went back to her house, and she went upstairs to take a shower, and she told me to go into her sister's room and find something. and I accidentally went in her room, and she was coming out of the shower, and she didn't really have a problem with me seeing her naked, which led to shenanigans. And your boy was like, strike three. I was like, we're just too close. But I had low testosterone in like my late 40s, and we did the steroid thing for a little bit. Have you ever been on steroids?
At one time, yes, but very short.
It is
I wouldn't think
freaky.
it had that
It
much
is
of an effect.
freaky. I just happen to be doing dumbbells, which I started last week again. I go through these periods where I'll do dumbbells for like 2 or 3 months, and I get tired and don't do it. And when I got put on the steroids because of my low testosterone, I had been doing dumbbells. And when I got on this on the steroids, dude, I was flinging those damn dumbbells. I was like, what the hell is going on? I went from doing 3 sets of each to 5 sets of each. This is what I would do. I'd do curls. I would do these over the head. I would do flies. And then I'd get over my bed and I would do the pull-ups. And before I got on the steroids, I would do 3 of those each of 15. And when I got on steroids, I'd do 5 sets. I mean, I was just flinging those things around. But typically and I was a fatso back then, but I still got an even more the round face thing and the pimples on my back. And we quickly got off that. But it was remarkable what a difference it made. But other than that, I'm in great health for a man of my 6 decades. We'll find out about my PSA in a couple of weeks. I've got to go take another blood test. But other than that's just the maybe ironic or coincidental or just weird thing about today's show. Because I literally was going to come in here and say, I'm in such a good mood. I had a really good doctor's appointment today. And for a man of my advanced years, I'm in pretty damn good health. And I'm going to start the tennis this weekend. Oh, by the way, I need some tips.
Okay.
Because as an old man, not only do I not own a pair of jeans, but guess what else I don't own?
Tennis shoes?
I do not own tennis shoes.
Ooh, okay.
You ever seen me in tennis shoes?
No, actually, now I think about it now.
Which
probably would have helped out the gout a little bit had you moved to them.
No.
You don't think so?
No. That's all based on, you know what my uric acid level is? It's supposed to be about 5.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. I didn't mean like the uric acid level. I meant more of like the pain tolerance kind of thing.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Like walking on hard shoe.
Yeah, because this is the first time I've been wearing hard shoes this week. I haven't worn dress shoes in months.
Right.
And when I did, it was really painful and I had to use a shoehorn. So yeah, you're probably right. But what should I buy? I have no idea what's out there. I have no idea what the tennis shoe market is like. Because I'm an old man. You know what I'm probably going to buy?
Reeboks.
Reeboks. The only time I wore Reeboks is when I was a waiter.
Really?
Because they look cool. They had just come out. This is the mid '80s, and they were high tops, and they were comfortable, and they were black, and they almost looked like dress shoes. And our uniforms were black. The pants out of our uniforms were black. So I wore Reeboks when I was a waiter. It's the only time I wore. No, I'll probably go. I'm an old man.
New Balances then?
No, that's even before that. Before your time, you could never guess. Stan Smiths. The old white Stan Smith. Stan Smith was a pretty good U.S. tennis player in the 60s. He came out with these white brand of shoes. You're familiar with K-Swiss?
Yes.
Well, they look like K-Swiss.
Yeah.
But they're just a different mode, and they're all white. I'll probably end up going with that.
You want those? Foot Locker, maybe?
Yeah. But because I drove down Truxton today, and they did Alan Tandy destroyed all the tennis courts, but he did leave up that wall. And during the U.S. Open, I discovered that tennis is the healthiest sport I always thought it was swimming. I really did.
You would assume,
because you're moving just about every muscle in your body, plus you're getting hella oxygen. But Jeet Singh confirmed what the commentators were talking about during the U.S. Open last weekend, that recreational tennis is the healthiest sport on the planet. And folks that participate in recreational tennis have a 9-year life expectancy further than others. Probably too late for an old man like me, but I played a lot of tennis as a kid, so I'm too old to run down balls, but I can walk up to Jastrow Park and just hit against that wall for about an hour and then walk home. It's a great walk to and fro Jastrow Park from my house. So I'll get in about 1,000 steps plus bang against the wall for an hour or so. So it's just weird that on such a dour day that I was supposed to come in here happy and gleeful that I'm pretty damn healthy. We got to still go up the hill and talk with our good friend, Federal Agent Howard Marcus. He's going to join us next. Don't go anywhere.
This is AM 1180 KERN Green Acres. This is 96.1 FM Bakersfield. Online at KERNradio.com.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Conservative activist and Salem talk show host Charlie Kirk has been shot and killed while at an event at Utah Valley University.
31-year-old Kirk was shot while speaking at a debate hosted by his nonprofit political organization, Turning Point USA. Kirk became one of the nation's most recognizable conservatives and a central part of President Donald Trump's operation. Kirk spoke at the Republican National Convention in August 2020.
This election is a decision between preserving America as we know it and eliminating everything that we love. To hold down the good, decent middle-class patriots striving to build a family and pursue a decent life.
I'm Haya Panjwani.
The person suspected of fatally shooting Kirk is now in custody, according to a social media post from FBI Director Kash Patel. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Charlie Kirk was murdered for speaking truth, a cry of grief that highlighted how close the alliance between the Israeli and American conservatives has become. Netanyahu was one of an array of Jewish and Israeli leaders who expressed their horror at the assassination. The Orthodox Union called the killing a horrific act of political violence, and the Jewish Federations of North America likewise said it was horrified. Kirk became an avid campaigner for President Trump early on in Mr. Trump's 2016 campaign and continued campaigning for his re-election in 2024. In remarks at a campaign rally in November 2024, Kirk said Republicans had to seize the advantage.
It is all there for the taking. The Democrats are freaking out that they did not hit their early voting numbers, and we are going to show up in the polls in record numbers.
Once again, conservative activist and Salem talk show host Charlie Kirk has been assassinated. More at townhall.com.
Attention investors with a 401k, IRA, or retirement account. The dollar has lost over 25% of its value in the past 5 years, and it's only going to get worse. Are you prepared for what's about to happen next? We are Advantage Gold, the #1 customer-rated gold IRA company in America, and we are helping Americans prepare for the great de-dollarization by diversifying their portfolios with physical precious metals. We've partnered with former chief economist of the IMF, Kenneth Rogoff, to give away his latest book called Our Dollar, Your Problem, a must-read for investors. Call 800-741-GOLD, and we'll rush a free copy of Our Dollar, Your Problem to your doorstep and include our special gold IRA investing kit, valued at $49. The dollar is losing value fast. Call 800-741-GOLD now to get your free copy of Our Dollar, Your Problem and our free gold IRA investing kit. Supplies are limited. Consult your tax and financial professional before investing. Call 800-741-4653. That's 800-741-GOLD.
From the KERN Newsroom, your live and local news update on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
I'm Bill Robbins. A man has been sentenced to 11 years behind bars in the case of the Superior Grocers homicide. It happened in the store parking lot on New Year's Day 2023 after Demetrius Ford Jr. threw a punch. An employee hit his head on the concrete. Juan Carlos Urbina died hours later. Ford instigated the fight. In the late hours of January 1st, 2023, Ford and his friends went to the Superior Grocer on Union Avenue to get more drinks for a party. When they realized the store was closed, Ford backed his vehicle into an employee's truck, and that employee was waiting for the start of his midnight shift. Ford got angry when the employee took a picture of Ford and his vehicle. A man accused of raping a massage parlor employee in downtown Bakersfield is facing 6 felony charges, including rape, second-degree robbery, and other offenses. Javier Quintero allegedly entered the business, pushed the victim into a chair, and sexually assaulted her. She says she didn't resist because she feared for her life. Quintero allegedly stole the woman's purse afterward. He's scheduled to be in court on Thursday and Friday. Local politicians reacting to the shooting of conservative activist Charlie Kirk at an event in Utah. Governor Newsom called the attack disgusting, vile, and reprehensible. Nancy Pelosi said that all Americans should pray for Charlie Kirk's recovery. Vince Fong asked people to join him and his wife as they pray for Charlie and his family. Representative Jim Costa also said that our thoughts and prayers are with Charlie and his family. A man found dead in Mojave has been identified. The Kern County Coroner's Office said that the man's name is Benjamin Allen McCleary. He was 58 years old and from Mojave. He was found last Saturday a little after midnight in the 300 block of Trotter Avenue. Cause and manner of death are pending. I'm Bill Robbins in the KERN newsroom with news every half hour or when it breaks on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
What do you think? This is the Army where you shoot them a mile away? You got to get up close like this. Bada bing! You blow their brains all over your nice Ivy League suit.
It's the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Now make sure you leave the house when you make the call. You understand me? You hear me? Call from an outside line. I mean it.
Call in or text to 661-842-KERN. That's 661-842-5376. Listen live at KERNradio.com. Now, the host you've been waiting all day for. Live from the KERN studio, here's Ralph Bailey.
Hour 2 of the broadcast on this horrendous Wednesday, 10th day of September. We still got lots to do on the program. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, we'll talk a little bit about excerpts being released from Kamala Harris's book, 107 Days. And to no one's shock or surprise, she absolutely throws President Biden, his wife, and the administration under the bus. She walks away from any responsibility for her complete failure as a horrendous candidate in 2020, and perhaps an even worse candidate in 2024, who had accessibility to literally more than $1 billion and could not defeat a president who had once been defeated by her boss. And coming up at the 5, we've got the latest on DeCarlos Brown Jr., the 14-time arrested convict who took the life of a 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee. His sister visited him in prison, and they have audio of that conversation. We'll play that for you. But it is a Wednesday. Time to bring in our former federal agent, Howard Marcus. How are you, Howard?
Well, obviously, not a good day.
Yeah, pretty scary.
I saw Charlie Kirk on YouTube, and watched all his videos and really enjoyed it, give and take. He was civilized, at least on his half. It was civilized debate. That's what we're supposed to want as a society. And unfortunately, we have a 2,000-year history of political assassination. This is nothing new. Within our own lifetime, as you mentioned earlier, we've had this happen. And
but this is different. No way to stop it. This is different. This isn't a man who had he had political power, he had political sway and influence. Sure. As I mentioned, he's a 31-year-old man who had the ear of the leader of the free world. But it's rare that we've seen political assassinations outside of elected officials. I know there was a controversial radio host in Denver who was murdered, who they believe was politically motivated. But I'll be honest with you, this even threw a scare through me. And I've always been very aware of my surroundings. For example, and this is the God's honest truth, and I don't know whether I started doing this after I got sucker punched or whether I've been doing this because I have had threats in my career, but there are 2 entrances to my apartment. The front entrance in which I enter, and then there's a back entrance. And you can sneak around the corner, and my apartment is the first one you reach. And every single day when I enter my apartment, I am looking down that hallway just to make sure there's nobody sneaking around the corner. I don't know what I'd do if somebody was, but I like to just look, and that's just tells you where we are in the 21st century.
Oh no, violence is endemic, unfortunately, to society. When it comes down to it bluntly, we're basically killer apes.
Yeah.
We try to hold our harsher nature under control. And, the only change I've seen, I was just discussing this before this incident very recently, that the change in rhetoric has been, if I disagree with you, I'm not just wrong, I'm a bad person and deserve whatever happens to me. That's the change.
Yeah.
And people are applauding this. You saw Tim Walz's comments about, you mentioned briefly Tim Walz's comments about President Trump the one weekend where he just happened to not be having a news conference, gleefully hoping he was dead.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
That is rhetoric that is beyond the pale and has to stop. And unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be abating. We remember Kathy Griffith holding up a severed dummy head of George Bush.
Yep.
You cannot have those.
No, it was Trump. Wasn't it Trump?
No, it was before. I think was it Trump or was it?
I think it was Trump. Pretty sure it was Trump
because Bush was the they actually made a movie called Assassination of President Bush. And you can't have that kind of rhetoric. Polite society shouldn't allow that, and those people should be outed, and they're not. They're celebrated by their own adherents. And the reality of it is that I don't see an obvious answer. There's so many multifaceted problems. Mental illness is one thing. Political assassination essentially is another. These are not necessarily completely crazy people. They're evil people with an agenda.
And you know what's coming, don't you? Inevitably, you're going to have Ilhan Omar or AOC say something as controversial as what Malcolm X said in the 60s following the death of John Kennedy that got him suspended from the Nation of Islam, as a matter of fact, where he said that the chickens have come home to roost. I predict, and I swear, I hope I'm wrong, but I see some woke liberal saying, see, the chickens have come home to roost. We've told you about getting rid of weapons and guns and blah, blah, blah. And now it's hit one of your own. I see that coming, Howard. I hope I'm wrong.
But I don't think you're wrong. The sad part is the horrible thing about the modern media and the modern mass communications is people will say the most horrid things on the internet that they would never dare to say, not only to the face of the person they're insulting, but in front of their mother or pastor.
Yeah.
And I've seen that repeatedly. People hide behind their keyboards and say the most vile things because there's no real immediate repercussion. I've had it happen on Facebook where people utter death threats, things like that, and you report them to Facebook, they don't do anything.
Oh yeah,
it's allowed. They don't have the policing. There's billions of people, billions of posts, I'm sure.
Oh, we deal with it. We deal with it all the time. I deal with it. I just dealt with it the other day where I was jokingly referencing the fact that I missed my jury selection because I just simply forgot.
I saw that whole thing.
Yeah, and some guy got on the chat room and was like talking about how my dad would be disappointed in me and something, and I was just like, "Don't you ever bring up my father?" And that's not comparable, but just out of bounds, just things out of bounds.
And he wouldn't have said it to your face.
Never,
that's
never.
The difference.
And that's exactly what I told him.
People say this guy. I saw the whole thing, and people say these things. I've done essentially the equivalent. I said, you know what? You want my address? Come on over.
That's exactly what I told this guy, not to the audience of radio, but I looked in this camera and I said, why don't you come down here to 1400 Eastern Drive and say that very same thing to me in front of my face?
Yeah, and the reality is some pimply kid typing away in his mom's basement.
Exactly.
That's the sad part of our society is we've allowed this to happen and get out of hand. It's hard to put the genie back in the bottle. People argue it's free speech, and it's political discourse. And it's like, no, this is impolite behavior that shouldn't be tolerated at minimum. And it is definitely meets the criteria of threats and hate speech and terrorist threats. And as a society, until we stop tolerating it, it's going to continue. And Charlie Kirk, unfortunately, is not the last to have this happen to him. We're going to have more of these because with 330 million people, 1/10 of 100th of 1% being a lunatic is all it takes. You don't have to have a mass movement. It just takes one guy to take something out of context, a hate statement by someone else to justify his actions. And that's the saddest part.
Let's try to look at this as a glass half full. Could this be an opportunity for, as we both said, for both sides to lower the temperature, to lower the rhetoric, to perhaps realize that we've got to get along, that we can agree to disagree. Could this maybe jolt us in a different direction?
Well, you think the assassination of Trump would have done that, the attempted assassination. And, you know, within a month, people were saying, oh, that was all a setup. It wasn't real. You know, the bandage on his ear was for show. And,
Don
you know,
Lemon. Don Lemon went on television and said that.
Yep.
Said that he believed that it was the glass shattering from the teleprompter. He actually went on television and said that out loud.
Well, and then a year later, Tim Walz is basically gleefully, not making a statement, gleefully joking about Trump dying.
Yeah.
So no, I don't think it's going to stop. I don't think Charlie Kirk's going to be a stop. What you're going to have now is what Trump now does on his public appearances. He's standing behind a bulletproof shield, a clear shield. He wasn't in Butler. He is now.
Yeah.
And you remember the Pope Mobile, you know, the prior popes used it, the current Pope isn't using it. You know, you'll have public events, but there's going to be a difference in security now.
I disagree. I disagree. I think open air events are over. Maybe not for the president, you're right, because they can put him behind a shield.
Right.
But public events, going to college campuses, because, you know, comedians stopped doing that years ago because of the heckling and the people jumping on stage. Dave Chappelle was almost attacked on stage. Comedians stopped going to colleges years ago. But I think open air events, maybe just beyond Save the President, they're done. If I ever became national right now, I certainly would never try to host an open air event.
See, the problem with that is then the bad guys win. You know, that's the problem, is that I would rather have more security precautions. You know, they mentioned there was no metal detection or screening at this event, because it hadn't occurred to him. These are young college students, you know, et cetera, they're good people. You know, they're obviously carrying something obviously like a firearm, like the guy in New York walking down the street. But there was the security there was unarmed guys just standing around Charlie Kirk, as far as I could tell.
Yeah, but you don't think it was somebody in the crowd?
Well, they think it was 200 feet away in a building.
Exactly, 200 yards. 200 yards, yeah. This was a rifle from somewhere in a building, don't you think?
Oh yeah, I'm sure it was, because it was the crowd. They would have somebody would have dogpiled the guy, or you would have seen it. There was enough video at the event,
right?
But you know, the reality is, no. I mean, my opinion, and time will tell. I think you're going to have public events with just more security, which I think is a better answer. Because again, you know, in a free and open society, there are certain risks to expressing your opinion, whether it's in public or private. And I'd certainly hate to see people huddling in the dark or afraid to go out and express their opinion because some lunatic may take a shot at them. Because remember, this is an unusual event that happened to poor Charlie Kirk. This is not the norm. If it becomes a norm, we're turning into Europe. You know, with public violence is the way of life on political differences. You know, you see these fist fights in parliament of various countries, and you know, it's street violence. You know, you cut off the access to a media thing, and they storm parliament and burn buildings. Hopefully, we don't have that here, but if we allow this to happen and to allow it to cow the public and public figures, how do you campaign politically if you can't go to a public event, regardless of where you're not the president? Let's say you're a candidate for state or local office, even. How do you campaign?
Yeah.
And I think the reality of it is, I think this thing was a security issue. All the buildings with the vantage point should have been screened. If from going forward, they're going to have the same level of security for a major celebrity, which Charlie Kirk was, that they would have for the president with private security. I think they're going to have to look at these things a little differently than they did. You know, that's available. It just would never occur to anybody. It wouldn't occur to you or me to even think this would have happened. That's what's so shocking.
Yeah.
This guy was not a violent rhetoric. This guy didn't use violent rhetoric. This guy wasn't a hate monger. He was merely expressing his position in a polite way, by the way.
Yeah.
I never saw him ever use any hateful rhetoric. I never saw him put anybody down. If he ever did, it was with humor.
Yeah.
He always told, you know, go ahead.
He was what I have always tried to be, being able to talk and agree to disagree, and allow the opposing viewpoint to be viewed and heard. And I never thought, for example, I always thought Rush Limbaugh had much more animosity toward him than Charlie Kirk. I think he was a much more palatable, kind of affable man, that of all the talk show hosts that I could think of, he would be the last that I would have thought would have been the target of an assassination.
Yeah, I don't remember personal attacks by Charlie Kirk on anybody. He was,
No.
you remember at his events, and he said this all the time, the people that got to go to the front of the line to talk to him were those that disagreed.
Yeah, he would engage
And he
these
always
kids.
told the crowd to be nice to the people up there that are saying different things. He would calm the crowds down. This guy was not a violent individual or a hateful individual. That's the tragedy of it. In no way, shape, or form can this was not a budding Hitler. This was not a bad person. This was a genuinely good religious man trying to follow what he believed was his belief system in public discourse, and was punished for it.
I mean, even the name of his tour, "Prove Me Wrong,"
right,
just reeks of what he was about, where he wanted to engage you.
Yep.
Use hands. Now let me go to your campus and prove, and let's discuss it. And that was the beauty of his whole campaign. And as I talked about at the top of the show, how many 16-year-olds, Howard, have you ever heard on a U.S. Senate campaign?
No, this was his life. This was what he lived for.
Yeah.
And it was good at, and you're right, it was good at. My only sorrow is I hope somebody with equal charisma in his own organization takes up the reins. There are people that have appeared with him, alongside him, that I would hope, continue the outreach that he did, because he was actually, regardless of political opinion, he was a force for good.
See, that's the
what folks
issue.
remember.
How do you replace that? Like I said again, leadership, charisma, that type of ability to influence people just doesn't come along every day. You just don't see that, and you can't learn it, you can't teach it, you can't read about it. It is innate. Like I said, I don't know too many 16-year-olds who get on campaigns. I don't know too many high school kids who make a force to change what's going on in their high school cafeteria. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
No, exactly.
everybody
I think
hates their high school cafeteria food, but who has the engagement to actually make a change? Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk. He was born to be an influencer.
Who was the woman that was with him? Was it Riley? What's her name? Riley Gaines? Was that the young blonde girl?
The swimmer?
Yeah.
Was she traveling with him?
Yeah, she was alongside him at a lot of events.
Yeah.
And then before she went nuts, Candace Owens was with him at a whole bunch of events.
I heard, and I was reluctant to repeat this, but I heard, and I don't know if this has anything to do with the shooting, but that he was discussing transgenderism when he was shot.
Yeah, I've heard that reported also. That was a question just before he got shot, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
I don't know if that, that would have to be a conspiracy that, would be a science fiction novel.
Right.
I think that was a common topic, and just happened tragically to be the question
Coincidence.
at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just hope that there's somebody take up the mantle so all his good work and all the stuff that he's done doesn't fall by the wayside. And I think there are people that can step forward to take his place, actually advertise it. To honor Charlie Kirk, we're not going to let Turning Point USA fall apart. We'd like to continue. We want to engage on the campus. We want people to be able to come forward and speak their opinion without fear of censor. And, that's what needs to happen. And there was a variety of people that have appeared with him that I think could possibly be able to do so. I hope, at least.
You probably have
to shame of his legacy as the organization stops.
You probably have to go to the 18th century to find a 31-year-old who has the ear of the President of the United States.
Yeah, I can't imagine anybody within my lifetime that was that influential.
At 31.
I can even think of at 31. That's such a young age.
It's unheard of.
And again, political assassinations, think of Lincoln, we've had other incidents with popular people. But you are right, mostly actual politicians, not just, people of note. And the influencer idea is kind of a new one.
Yeah.
People who aren't politicians who hold the public ear is kind of a new thing.
But now in this 21st century, we've kind of grown accustomed to, if I don't agree with you, I'm going to talk. We talked about Paul Pelosi getting hit with a hammer, Gabby Giffords, Steve Scalise, and don't forget Luigi Mangione, who stalked a healthcare worker and shot him in the back in the streets of New York.
Well, think of it this way, and his GoFundMe went nuts
Yeah, he was a hero.
People idolized this.
He
man.
was a
I mean,
hero.
the sickness in society made him
Exactly.
a hero for shooting an innocent victim in the back.
Hundreds of
And, you know,
thousands of dollars on his books.
They had to stop the GoFundMe for the guy that killed the Ukrainian girl. They had to stop. They were having GoFundMe started for him. That's the sickness in
For
society.
Brown?
Not just-
For the
yeah.
Carlos Brown?
Yeah, it was a news article. They had people starting GoFundMes for that guy.
Wow, I did not
They had
know
to
that.
step in and stop that. They had several of them, and then what they did instead was they had a GoFundMe for the victim's family, and the last I heard it was like $85,000 for her family. But you know,
Wow.
that's the sickness in society. That's the real and moral rot. It isn't just the individuals; it's those that applaud its actions and then give money to.
Yeah. And as I said, not that it's comparable, but wanted the Philly Karen destroyed, fired from her job, and just absolutely left desolate because she acted like an idiot at a baseball game.
Yeah.
Like you freaks that want to see this woman destroyed don't realize that you're just as bad as freak she is. You know,
Well,
you don't
time
cancel
again.
somebody because they act ball game.
Well, that's the joy of the anonymous keyboard.
Yeah.
You can hunt these people down and ruin their lives. And you know, they've had these answers like when they had a restaurant, a big controversy over a restaurant for Trump to go visit in D.C. They said the problem is that people will just flood the Yelp with 1-star reviews that hadn't eaten at the restaurant,
Yeah.
and they'll retaliate. Again, people's behavior for the darkness of their bedroom, typing away, say the most horrible things they never dare say in polite society.
Yeah.
The problem is polite society in itself is changing.
Absolutely.
The limits of polite society are lessening.
There's no such
And we're
thing as
allowing more and more horrible behavior.
Yeah, there's no such thing as polite society. I got to fly out. I'm extremely late. Always good to talk to you, man. We'll talk to you next week.
All right. Bye-bye.
We'll take a quick time out. Not a lot of time before we get to the bottom hour. It's the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Have you ever been to the Stockyard right next door to AC Steakhouse?
You're going to have a minute when we come back.
In there, they have craft cocktails, live music Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night. And Cassie has a beautiful banquet room for meetings, parties. I know Kathy Abernathy often uses it for election night parties where they watch debates or the polls come in, whatever. And of course, I have to tell you about Casey Steakhouse. You guys voted them best steakhouse in the recent Bakersfield, California poll. And I always like to remind you that the menu is completely expanded, that if you go with a large group, as many of you do to celebrate birthdays, not everybody has to have red meat. Chef Daniel's done a wonderful job with the lobster mac and cheese, the different fish dishes, even some Italian dishes like the fettuccine Alfredo that's got me limping around Kern County. Where would you rather be than on F Street, KC Steakhouse?
Please meet Paul Sheldon's client, Rod Geis.
Hello, Kern County. This is Rod Geis. My wife and I recently changed our health care coverage to Medicare. We were so fortunate to have found Paul Sheldon. Paul and his associates Kelly, Lynn, and Christine were indispensable in guiding us through the transition. They have comprehensive knowledge and experience in all aspects of insurance, Medicare, and the option. They listened to our questions every time we walked in the door, and they followed up very promptly with the answers we needed. With Paul's help, we made the best decisions for us. The process was painless, and we now have comprehensive medical coverage at a very affordable price. So if you are considering retirement and a change to Medicare coverage, Paul Sheldon Insurance Benefits and Planning is hands down the best place you can go.
When Medicare matters, our team has the answers. Team Paul Sheldon.
398-2298.
Don't you wish your life came with a warning app?
Stop. That dog does not want to be petted.
Just a little heads up before something bad happens.
Move your coffee cup away from your computer.
Oh, no.
So you can have more control.
Stop. You're texting your boss by mistake.
Uh-oh. Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes like managing your weight, getting active, stopping smoking, and eating healthier, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. It's easy to learn your risk. Take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Warning. The cap is loose on that ketchup.
Don't wait. You have the power to change the outcome. Visit doihaveprediabetes.org today. That's doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its pre-diabetes awareness partners.
The Charlie Kirk Show, weekdays at 6 p.m. on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. Now,
it's-
back to the Ralph Bailey Show.
It's weird that we come out of that spot with a pre-diabetic commercial because the only bad number that I did have beyond my testosterone and my vitamin D level was my A1C jumped a little bit. Not bad. I'm back in the 6s, 6.1. And, you know, if you've heard those Jardiance commercials, they've got heavy-set people, you know, proclaiming, you know, I don't ever want to get back into the 7s. On television proclaiming that that's pretty good. And that's what Hemel, Dr. Cavity told me. He said, no, 6.1's not bad, particularly for a guy your age. It's not bad. But I'd feel more comfortable back where I was in the 5s, like a 5.8. We head to the back half of the 4 o'clock hour. We'll talk about Kamala Harris's new book when we return. Don't go anywhere.
And AM 1180 KERN.
With excellent news, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Charlie Kirk, the CEO and co-founder of the conservative youth organization Turning Point USA, was
Damn right,
fatally
boy.
shot
Couldn't do
Wednesday
that a
at
week
an
ago.
event at a Utah
Could not do that for
college.
10 seconds.
President killed as he was speaking at Utah Valley University. The shooting quickly drew reaction from leading political figures, including some victims of political violence. Videos posted to social media show a handheld microphone at the university's Sorensen Center courtyard, sitting under a white tent emblazoned with the slogans "The American Comeback" and "Prove Me Wrong" when he was shot. A person of interest was in Tuesday evening. Utah Governor Spencer Cox
I'll get there at 6:30.
said, though no
Until
charges
7.
were immediately
I'll get there at
announced.
6:30.
This has been an
Hey, you know
SLN
what
News
else I'm
special.
1 and AM 1180 KERN. From the KERN newsroom, your live and local news update on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
I'm Bill Robbins. Police are investigating after a body was found near a dumpster in a shopping complex in southwest Bakersfield. Police do not suspect foul play. Officers arrived on scene. 6,000 block of Panama Lane. They found a body behind the dumpster. Officers suspect the man was homeless. A man is recovering in the hospital after driving into a fence leading into a canal. Bakersfield police officers say he was driving under the influence. It happened at around 7:15 last night at South 8th Street and Wilson Road. The Bakersfield Fire Department managed to rescue the driver by attaching the car to a fire engine. 40-year-old Tarani Stalker was taken to the hospital. He's expected to be okay and has been arrested. I'm Bill Robbins in the KERN newsroom with news every half hour or when it breaks on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-1783. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-1783. That's 800-575-1783. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Must qualify for enrollment. Results may vary.
Thursday edition, Clay Travis, Buck Sexton Show will break down the absolute latest, the ongoing fallout of the awful murder of Irina Zarutzka in Charlotte. Also, the battle heats up for what's going to happen on Capitol Hill when it comes to all of Trump's nominees. All that and more, Thursday edition, Clay and Buck.
The Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show, live 9 to noon. News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Nobody had to tell your grandparents not to drive while using their typewriters.
Why should it be any different for us kids and our cell phones? Distracted driving was the cause of more than 3,000 deaths in 2022. Come on, we're smarter than this. Let's put down the phones and focus on the roads. Drive safe, everybody.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
The Armstrong and Getty Show, weekdays noon to 2 on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. Now, back to the Ralph Bailey Show.
4:31 on a Wednesday, the 10th day of September. This is the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. You know, I'm finally past my gout situation. I still have some pain in my ankle, but I'm walking again. And as I just showed off to Chris and Randy, I can stand on one leg again. And I've started back doing my walks during the top and the bottom of the hour of the break. And I was circling the building and I was like, wow, it's such a beautiful day. And yet at the same time, it just seems like such an ugly day. You know, I think part of what has me, because I don't know Charlie Kirk, I was absolutely looking forward to meeting him. He was coming here November the 20th. He's our guy. He follows me. In fact, what are we airing this afternoon? Do you know?
I think we will continue to air the Charlie Kirk show until we kind of get an idea of what the plan is going forward.
Yeah. And so I was looking forward to meeting him. He was coming here with Megyn Kelly on November 20th at the Dignity Health Arena.
We were going to try to do a meet and greet with everybody.
Yeah. And I hate to confess, but up until about maybe 6 months ago, I truly had no idea who he was. Now, let me explain. When you watch reels or videos on Facebook or Instagram, many times there's no description of what's going on. Sometimes you can hit the bottom of the thing and it'll say more, and it'll say Ralph Bailey at Cal State Bakersfield, but a lot of times there's nothing. And I had seen Charlie Kirk engaging kids on campus and thought, God, this young kid is brilliant. Who is this kid? And then I would do the show, and as you guys, if you listen at the end of the broadcast at 5:45, I often say, not often, every day, I say, final break of the night, keep it locked, because Charlie Kirk is coming up at the top of the hour, not knowing at that time, till about 6 months ago, that the guy that I'm introducing, the guy that follows me on my own radio station, is the very kid that I was admiring on college campuses going at it on his Prove Me Wrong tour. I literally didn't put the two together because I envisioned this voice that I hear on the radio. This guy's got to be 40, 45 years old. He's too brilliant to be 31 years old. I just never even put that together because, you know, he was 31 years old and he looks about 20. You know, he could, I bet he gets carded when he was still alive. He looks that young, and he was, I'm sure many of you seen the video prior to the shooting where he's wearing a white t-shirt and he's laughing and giggling and throwing out Trump hats, and he looks like a college kid. He looks absolutely, that's why I really did not want to see that video. JR offered it to me and I said no, and then another friend sent it to me on a text message, and I had a really good idea what it was, and I still opened it and I saw it, and like I said at the top of the show, it starkly reminded me of the Kennedy shooting prior to the following the initial shot where the president was shot in the neck. I'm talking about the kill shot where you can see him just going back. And that's what you see if you haven't seen the actual shooting. And if you have not seen it, I wouldn't look at it unless you like that kind of stuff. But I really regretted. You can see him, the shot comes from the left, and you can actually see it enter and exit. You see blood coming out on this side and blood coming out that side. And it is very rare to survive a neck shot. And as I said earlier, it's where Dr. King was shot on the balcony of the Lorraine Motel in 1968, April 4th. But it just seems like such a, it's one of the reasons we're not playing music today. I just can't imagine hearing music coming into a segment today. I'm sure we'll get back at it tomorrow when we try to bring some normalcy. But it's just a really sad, sad day. 842-5376, 842-KRN. Who you got?
Mr. Petrie's on the line.
Daniel, what's really going on?
Ralph, like you, I happened to watch the video, not knowing exactly what I was doing when I did it.
Yeah.
It nauseated me.
Yeah, it's pretty chilling. It really is.
And then thank you for trying to better explain what it is people are feeling, because this one is worse than just another shooting.
Yeah.
It
really is.
Different. It's very different. And I can't explain to somebody who doesn't really care exactly why, but you're doing it good justice. And
yeah, thank you.
It's a sad day, and
it is.
I wish I'd never seen it. I really wish I hadn't.
Yeah, I agree.
Thanks. Kind of. Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, man. Good to hear from you.
All right.
Talk to you Thursday. Yeah, it is different because in my lifetime, I've never seen someone, and I consider us radio talk show hosts outside of the political sphere, and perhaps we're not, as people that are trying to influence. I don't really consider myself an influencer. I'm not trying to change anybody's mind. I'm simply here to give you my thoughts, my opinions. And like I said, in the manner in which Charlie Kirk tried to approach it, I have always, in the 21 years that I've been doing a radio show by myself, I've always tried to present just my opinion based on the way I was raised and my life experience and facts, and then allow you to either agree with me or disagree with me. And one of the things that I've tried to maintain is the fact that we can disagree agreeably. And perhaps I'm wrong. And to see someone who has absolutely no true specific influence, in other words, someone who cannot create legislation, someone who cannot sign an executive order, someone who has no more power than any of us, the simple ballot box, to see him snuffed out simply based on what he believed and trying to express himself is frightening. It truly is frightening. And it speaks to where we are. And I do think that the Philly Karen thing kind of encapsulates where we are. That woman received death threats. The woman received death threats over taking a baseball from a kid. Now, I'm not trying to apologize for a woman for acting stupid, but when we get to the point where we want to destroy people because they act silly at a ball game, what does that say about us, let alone her? And when we want to snuff out people's opinions, I've lost friends. This is the first time I started experience. It was right in the turn of the century when I became a Republican. And I have friends in Los Angeles who will not speak to me. I have Black friends who, once I told them that I voted for Donald Trump 3 times, will not speak to me. They're no longer my friends. They have written me off. Really? I mean, the thing that I always try to tell people that can't understand the conception of disagreeing agreeably is, imagine a world where we don't disagree. It was one of my father's favorite phrases in our house. whenever we would disagree, my father would say, well, that's what makes a horse race. Imagine if we had a horse race and everybody bet on the number one horse. The thing that makes a horse race is everybody's got an opinion, and 95% of the people are wrong. And it's exciting that you've got the 3 horse and I've got the 1, and I'm rooting for the 1 and you're rooting for the 3 because I've got information that tells me that the 1's going to win and you've got information on the 3 that's going to win. And in about 2 minutes, we're going to find out who's right. That's the excitement of it. That's what makes it wonderful. Competition. I want to beat you and you want to beat me, but we can do it agreeably. At the end of the game, people hug, athletes hug. They shake hands, they laugh, and they giggle. And 10 minutes ago, they were trying to tear each other's heads off. It always makes me kind of smile when I see the lineman, the 300-pound lineman who was chasing the 190-pound quarterback for 3 hours, and now here they are laughing and giggling with one another. Unless, of course, you spit on the guy, then there's not so much laughter, but that's extremely rare. But
wish they gave the punishment for that too.
What did he get, Jalen Carter?
Nothing. Just a game.
Just the ejection?
No suspension. No nothing. He'll be playing in week 2 against the Chiefs.
Now that's stupid.
That's what I said too.
He should have. You heard me. I said 3 games.
They said
maybe I was over the top, but it should have been at least 1 game.
They took his game check, the 57,000
from the Dallas game,
from game 1, but they said that they count him not playing in game 1 as that game suspension, which is a lame excuse.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Because 9 times out of 10, in college, if you get an unsportsmanlike, you can't even start the next half.
No.
Of the next game.
Because the Florida
if you get tossed, you get tossed in a college game, you can't start the first half of the next game. Which just reminds me of one of the classic attempts at discipline.
Oh, Lord.
It's the Dallas Cowboys. And Michael Irvin misses the plane. And all the guys are trying to tell Jimmy Johnson, he's on the tarmac. We can get him on the plane. And the flight attendants are like, Mr. Johnson, we haven't closed the door yet. We can get Michael on the plane. And Jimmy said, no, he's late. Close the door. We're leaving. And so they leave Michael in Detroit. He's got to take a commercial plane back to Dallas. And they have a big meeting about how they're going to discipline Michael at the next game. Do you know what Jimmy did?
Benched for the first half, right?
First series.
Oh, well.
Took him out for the first series. They punted, got the ball back. All right, Michael, you served your penance. It's winning. It's a business. There's, But Jalen Carter should have got more than 1 game for. If you don't know what we're talking about the first game of the season where Dak Prescott appeared to spit, but not at Jalen Carter, but he did kind of do one of these numbers. Have you seen that part of the video?
Yeah.
Where he spits, he looks at Carter, and then he goes like that, but it was nowhere near Carter.
That's why.
And then Carter walks up into their huddle, and as I've always said, that's where there's a lack of leadership. There's no Brandon Graham anymore.
Yeah.
There's no leaders because somebody should have
snagged him.
What's it called when you illegal tackle?
Horse collar.
Somebody should have horse collared him from the back and said, get out of the Cowboy huddle. What are you doing? But there was nobody to do that. He's sitting there going face to face with Dak. I don't know what they're saying. And all of a sudden he just a little spittle, but clearly spits on his jersey. Unbeknownst to him, the referee is looking over his right shoulder and he's thrown out. And that was his punishment. The NFL has determined that Roger Goodell has determined that since that was at the beginning of the game and it was a complete game, that will be his 1-game suspension. That ain't enough. He should have sat out next week. Maybe I was over the top with 3 games because that's a big portion of the season, but he should have been forced to sit out next week.
That's why I wish we could hear the audio, because from what it looks like, and from what we understand from what was said, is that he might have just said, "Are you spitting at me?" And then that's when Dak does the, "Oh yeah, okay, like I got in your head" kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like if it was aggravated, I'm okay with him just getting 1 week.
All right. Let's go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we will delve into Kamala Harris's new book. Excerpts have been released, and much to nobody's chagrin. Oh, no, you know what? You know what? I haven't played the Jason Chavez audio. We'll play that for you. Jason Chavez is a congressman from Utah and a very dear friend of Charlie Kirk's and a regular on Fox. And he was one of the first witnesses to call in, and because he was at the event. Again, a very good friend of Charlie Kirk. So we'll hear from Jason Chavez. And then in the 5, we'll also hear from DeCarlos Brown Jr., the man responsible for the death of the Ukrainian refugee, the 23-year-old girl who had her throat slashed on a metro rail in Charlotte, North Carolina. He was speaking with his sister in prison. They have the audio of that. That's been released. We'll play that for you in the 5. In the meantime, you're listening to The Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1, AM 1180, KERN, and we're streaming live at kernradio.com.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Thursday's Armstrong and Getty Show. How did Kamala Harris write a book when there's no indication she could read a book? Anyway, we'll have more highlights from that.
Oh, that was harsh. Plus, Putin continuing to poke NATO in the eye, teetering on the brink of a wider war. What is going on with that? So much happening in the
That
news.
was
We'll have it
harsh.
for you
Damn.
on the
Did you hear
next
that
Armstrong
promo
and
they're
Getty
doing?
Show.
Weekdays noon to
couldn't even
2
read a book?
on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
It's that man again, Ralph Bailey from Sangera Subaru. One of the best things I admire about Subaru, how they give back to our community. And the start of the school year is the perfect time to recognize our teachers and principals with Subaru's VIP Educator Program. Now, through October 31st at Sangera Subaru, teachers, principals, or assistants of pre-K through 12th grade are eligible to receive $500 off the purchase or lease of a brand new Subaru. That's right. $500 in savings, plus utilizing Subaru's monthly sales incentive. So, if you're a teacher, principal, or assistant, call Sangera Subaru at 661-836-3737 or stop by and see my dear friends Damon Culberts and Hassan Levy. The whole Subaru team is ready to help, but it's only good through October 31st. Sangera Subaru, paving the way for a better community.
Offer available August 1st through October 31st and subject to change. Cannot be combined with any other VIP programs, but can be combined with retailer or consumer incentives. This offer applies to active classroom teachers, principals, and vice principals at pre-K through 12 schools.
Carpet Outlet Plus. Every day is sale day.
No one can beat us, no one can touch us. You won't find better prices. Shop and compare, we don't care. Take a look our way and come into Carpet Outlet Plus. Every day is sale day.
Oh no, Dad, I spilled juice on the carpet.
Don't worry, kiddo. We have stain-resistant carpet from Carpet Outlet Plus.
Dad, look, he dumped his water bowl all over the new floors.
Everything is fine. We have brand new waterproof floors from Carpet Outlet Plus. You can find everything you need for family-proof floor at Bakersfield's best flooring store. Now offering 1 year, no-interest financing. Carpet Outlet Plus, 3.5 blocks west of 99 on Rosedale Highway.
Carpet Outlet Plus. Every day is sale day.
According to the Department of Energy, power outages could increase 10,000% over the next few years. American families are left in the dark for hours, days, or longer. Extended outages like that aren't just inconvenient, they're deadly. That's why My Patriot Supply, America's most trusted preparedness company, created the Grid Doctor 3300, a solar-powered backup generator. It delivers 3,300 watts of power, enough to run almost anything in your home. It's portable, whisper quiet, and safe to use indoors. And right now, when you order a Grid Doctor 3300 at mypatriotsupply.com, you'll get a free expansion battery, which doubles your power capacity absolutely free. Get peace of mind before the next outage hits your home and save over $1,200. But this is a limited time offer, so to get your solar generator and free expansion battery, go to mypatriotsupply.com today. That's mypatriotsupply.com.
The Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show, live 9 to noon. Now back to the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
842-5376, our phone number, 842-KERN. We have not checked the board today. What's going on? What's everybody talking about?
Let's see. I just have one here that says good and evil. I'm not sure exactly of which they are speaking on that one.
That's the only text message we have today?
No, there's a couple of them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, good and evil. Since the beginning of time, it exists. Pure evil. In fact, Chris handed me a story from USA Today that there was a shooting at a school very close to Columbine, just outside of Denver. 3 students were shot. That's including the alleged shooter. They've all been transported to local hospitals, and all 3 are in critical condition. It's a horribly written story because it doesn't say whether the shooter shot himself or whether police or it does say officers did not fire any rounds. So how the shooter was wounded, it doesn't say. It just says the alleged shooter and 2 students were transported to St. Anthony's Hospital in Lakewood, where they are in critical condition. But they tried to make a story out of very few facts, and it's really, really poorly written, if you ask me. But and I don't think this was a copycat. It happened at 12:24 local time. And I'm not sure, is Utah and Denver both on Mountain Time? I think they are.
I would think so, yes.
Yeah, I would think they are. So this was not a copycat because, to the best of my knowledge, Charlie Kirk was shot at about 12:20, if I'm right. And this occurred at 12:24. So at least it's not a copycat. But that's from USA Today. What else you got?
Many popular MAGA figures, including Kirk and Trump, praised the violent attack on Paul Pelosi. Even Kirk saying it would be patriotic to bail out the attacker. All political violence is wrong, but both sides should condemn it every time it happens, not poke fun at it when it's on the other side.
I find it hard to believe that Charlie Kirk said that. You can quote whatever you want, but I want to see that. I find it hard to believe that Charlie Kirk would say, "Let's help out a guy that hit some man in the head with a hammer." I find that ridiculously hard to believe, and I don't believe it. What else you got?
Ralph, this looks like a personal hit. Pros don't work for free. What Dem or liberal has the power to get this done?
I don't believe that either. I think that my guess was that it's a former military man. My guess is he is extremely liberal and did not like the message that Charlie Kirk was sending. As I mentioned, and I do not think it was related, that they were discussing transgenderism, but I would not be surprised if this person was of the LGBTQ community or transgender, because that is big in the news and it's something that Charlie Kirk was passionate about. But you don't have to be a professional to be a marksman. And I was just spitballing that it was perhaps somebody with military background, but I know at least 10 guys that could make that shot. And I know that because they're hunters, and I've seen shots that they've made on deer and from longer distances than 200 yards. And maybe I should have asked Howard that. How difficult a shot is that? Because I thought it was a difficult shot just because of the awning and the angle. But I don't think that, for a lot of people, I don't think that's a very difficult shot from 200 yards. One more, and let's get into the final hour where we will talk about Kamala Harris's new book.
Some people are chiming in with the shoe recommendations for you.
Wow.
Slip-in hands-free Skechers.
No. I'm not going to relent to my age. No. I'm probably going to go old school. That's why advertisers don't want to advertise with old people, because we go with what we know. And I grew up wearing either K-Swiss or Stan Smiths just because I thought they looked good. I transferred from, because I was actually alive when K-Swiss was born.
Really?
Yeah. And I think I was in college when K-Swiss came out, because in high school I was a total Stan Smith guy. And then this new white shoe came out called K-Swiss. And I was like, man, those are, because Stan Smiths are kind of rounded and the K-Swiss are more streamlined. And I was like, those just like look like Stan Smiths, but even better. And I wore K-Swiss throughout much of my collegiate years and my early 20s. And then, you know, when I stopped wearing tennis shoes is when I was doing television. And I had to buy, you know, I wasn't making any money. I was making $35,000 a year. So I wasn't spending any money on tennis shoes. I was spending my money on hard shoes. That was back in the day when reporters actually wore ties and collared shirts. We head into the 5 o'clock hour. We will talk about Kamala Harris's new book next.
This is AM 1180 KERN, Green Acres. This is 96.1 FM, Bakersfield. Online at KERNradio.com.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. President Trump has issued a proclamation after the killing of conservative Salem talk show host Charlie Kirk. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
To honor the memory of Charlie Kirk, the president ordered flags be flown at half-staff until sunset on Sunday. Flags were immediately lowered at the White House, where the president had announced the death of his political ally. Donald Trump described Kirk as a great guy from top to bottom and as someone who understood the heart of the youth in America better than anyone. The president also wrote online, "Charlie, we love you." Greg Clugston, Washington.
Reactions coming in from other people who've been the victims of political violence. Steve Scalise, the House Majority Leader, a Louisiana Republican, was shot at practice for a charity baseball game involving members of Congress in the Virginia suburbs of 2017. Scalise asked people on the social for Charlie Kirk's family after this. The Pennsylvania governor, a Democrat and potential national candidate, with his family from the governor's mansion earlier this year after a man broke into the building and set a fire that caused significant damage. Quote, "We must speak with moral clarity," Shapiro wrote on X. "The attack on Charlie Kirk is horrifying, and this growing type of unconscionable violence cannot be allowed." And Pastor Samuel Rodriguez, president of the National Hispanic Christian Leadership Conference, issued a statement saying, "Our hearts and prayers are with the entire Kirk family as we grieve for the death of Charlie Kirk." More
watching Rob Finnerty on Newsmax. President Trump is. He even says Finnerty's show is so terrific. Millions are joining President Trump to watch Finnerty every night at 8 p.m. Eastern on Newsmax. All this week, Rob looks at the media's war on President Trump. Rob gives you the facts about the National Guard, New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles. He tells you the real truth of the Jeffrey Epstein files, and he reveals the big media's agenda on Trump's health. You need to watch Rob Finnerty on Newsmax. Check out your local cable system. Newsmax is on all major systems. Or download the free Newsmax app. It costs you nothing, and you can watch in minutes. Finnerty is the fastest growing primetime news show in America. Find out why even President Trump is tuning in. More than 40 million Americans go to Newsmax for news they can trust. Because we are real news for real people.
From the KERN Newsroom, your live and local news update on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
I'm Bill Robbins. A man has been sentenced to 11 years behind bars in the case of the Superior Grocers homicide lot on New Year's Day 2023 after Demetrius Ford Jr. threw a punch. An employee hit his head on the concrete. Juan Carlos Urbina died hours later. Ford instigated the fight. In the late hours of January 1st, 2023, Ford and his friend went to the Superior Grocer on Union Avenue to get more drinks for a party. When they realized the store was closed, Ford backed his vehicle into an employee's truck, and that employee was waiting for the start of his midnight shift. Ford got angry when the employee took a picture of Ford and his vehicle. A man accused of raping a massage parlor employee in downtown Bakersfield is facing 6 felony charges, including rape, second-degree robbery, and other offenses. Javier Quintero allegedly entered the business, pushed the victim into a chair, and sexually assaulted her. She says she didn't resist because she feared for her life. Quintero allegedly stole the woman's purse afterward. He's scheduled to be in court on Thursday and Friday. Local politicians reacting to the shooting of conservative activist Charlie Kirk at an event in Utah. Governor Newsom called the attack disgusting, vile, and reprehensible. Nancy Pelosi said that all Americans should pray for Charlie Kirk's recovery. Vince Fong asked people to join him and his wife as they pray for Charlie and his family. Representative Jim Costa also said that our thoughts and prayers are with Charlie and his family. A man found dead in Mojave has been identified. The Kern County Coroner's Office said the man's name is Benjamin Allen McCleary. He was 58 years old and from Mojave. He was found last Saturday a little after midnight in the 300 block of Trotter Avenue. Cause and manner of death are pending. I'm Bill Robbins in the KERN newsroom with news every half hour or when it breaks on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
What do you think, this is the Army where you shoot them a mile away? You gotta get up close like this. Bada bing, you blow their brains all over your nice Ivy suit.
It's the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Now make sure you leave the house when you make the call. You understand me? You hear me? Call from an outside line. I mean it.
Call in or text to 661-842-KERN. That's 661-842-5376. Listen live at KERNradio.com. Now, the host you've been waiting all day for. Live from the KERN studio, here's Ralph Bailey.
Final hour of the broadcast on this Wednesday, 10th day of September. We've still got lots to do. We will hear from DeCarlos Brown Jr., the man who was accused of killing a 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee. This happened back in August, and the media ignored it, as we talked about yesterday, because in my opinion, it doesn't fit their narrative. Had it been a white man who slit the throat of a black woman, it would have been gargantuan news back in August. But again, it doesn't fit the media liberals' narrative. And we really hadn't heard about this story. And I'm in the information business. And yeah, some things get biased, but. And then the video came out. And then there was no escaping it. And now it's huge news. We talked about it in great detail yesterday. And last night, apparently, his sister went to visit him in prison. And they've released the audio. So we'll play that for you. We'll also talk about, as I've been teasing throughout the show, Kamala Harris's book, 107 Days. They've released some excerpts about that. And so we'll discuss that. But I just want to give you the latest on the death of Charlie Kirk, the 31-year-old who follows the Ralph Bailey Show. And in fact, we will have a version of the Charlie Kirk Show coming up in about an hour. So you'll get to hear him perhaps one final time. We really are playing this, as we go, and what we'll do in the future for that time slot is way above my pay grade. But the latest is a suspect or person of interest is in custody, and there's really nothing new beyond that. Again, as we've talked about throughout the show, and as I'm sure you're probably aware, unless you've been hard at work and haven't had an opportunity to see the news or anything, but they believe it was a sniper some 200 yards away, most likely in one of the campus buildings. No report on type of weapon, but I think it's safe to assume that it was a rifle of some sort with most likely a scope from 200 yards. And it's ironic that this shooter was further away than the shooter in Butler, Pennsylvania, Ryan Roth, whose trial for the assassination. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm not. Just ignore what I just said. Ryan Roth is the shooter at Mar-a-Lago who hit away at the golf course. But the point I was trying to make is the Butler shooter, who again is not Ryan Roth, was closer to the president than Charlie Kirk's assassin was. Again, they estimate he was some 200 yards away. The Secret Service reported that the Butler shooter was about 150 yards away on top of a roof that, for whatever incompetent reason, was not secured. And that's really all the new information we have, although we do have some audio from Jason Chaffetz. He is a former Utah congressman and dear friend of Charlie Kirk's, and you've often seen him on Fox News. He was there at the event and called into Martha McCallum's show on Fox. Here's Jason Chaffetz.
I happened to be watching Charlie. I can't say I saw blood. I can't say I saw him get shot, but as soon as that shot went out, he fell back into his left, and everybody hit the deck. A lot of people started screaming, and then everybody started running, as you might expect. There was some police presence, but there was no security check going in, which didn't happen. Charlie has some security in front of him, but you got the sense that the shot came kind of straight at him.
Yeah. Jason, because of the force of the shoot and the violent way he saw Mr. Kirk fall, he thought it was somebody within the crowd. He thought it was a handgun at close proximity, but it most likely, and there's no confirmation on this, but it's, I think, safe to say that it was a rifle, as they've estimated, from some 200 yards. So again, if anything new pops up before 6 o'clock, we'll certainly have that for you, but I would certainly be watching the national news tonight to find out more. In the meantime, the ladies of The View are back. You know, it stuns me how stupid they are. And there's no other word for it. I was going to get into Kamala's book, but one of the topics, because just like I have to do when I'm gone for a week, they're trying to play catch up. They were on hiatus for almost a month. And so they're just catching up. And they talked about the young woman, the Ukrainian refugee who was killed on a Charlotte rail system in North Carolina. And, you know, they talked about this for about 20 minutes. And at no point, they talked about mental health, which we talked about yesterday. And I talked about at the top of the show that we have to understand now that mental health illness is a pandemic worse than COVID. It is running rampant throughout our country. And there's no warp speed effort, really, to try to stave off or fight off mental illness, because in my opinion, the only way to stave it off truly is to institutionalize people who are harmful to themselves or to others. The only other alternative is jail. And at least in an institution, at least hopefully in a 21st century institution, you can perhaps get some help and bring somebody back. And I was so gleeful to hear people parrot, I guess not parrot since they didn't really hear what I said, but at least agree with me that it was the 1970s that killed mental hospitals. Now, they didn't go as far as what I am wont to do, and that is take fictional books or motion pictures and relay that into real life. But I truly believe this, as I've said often. I think the demise of mental institutions came at the release of the motion picture One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. There had never been an examination for the country to witness what issues exist within many state hospitals all over the country. And we saw firsthand what happens, how troubled patients often used to have these procedures where they scramble your brain. I don't have enough knowledge to know whether they were using lobotomies at that time, but I'd be willing to guess the answer would be yes. And it was flooded, the post end of the release of this film,
by young journalists digging into this. Is this true? Is that really what is going on in state hospitals? And they began to dig into this. And you're saying, oh, come on, Ralph. Well, the reality is, post-Watergate, journalism was the most popular graduate school in America. Before that, it was med schools and law schools. But once they saw what journalism can do and how one can climb from being a beat cop to being a national sensation, journalism became all of the rage. So don't tell me that motion pictures don't affect real life. And I truly believe that the motion picture One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest led many journalists to take a look and pick up the rock, and they found out that there was a lot of just horrible situations. And I've told you the story. A friend of mine works for the U.S. Attorney's Office, and as late as the 1990s, my friend Ed Skelly was coming up into Kern County and finding egregious situations at senior living facilities where people's linen wasn't being changed, and old folks had bed sores that were just insane. And I think it was that kind of publicity in the 1970s that made mental institutions unpopular. And now with this pandemic, I don't see how in the world, if we are going to be serious about dealing with this incredible illness that now has begun to evince itself through not only just political violence, but violence at high schools. You know, these aren't sane children that are doing these things. These are kids that are lost. How often do we talk about this on this show, that we've lost generations of, in particular, young white men who feel they're being people treat them condescendingly, that they are the low man on the totem pole in terms of cultural. These young people aren't talking with one another. They're on their phone. I think social media's had a huge deal with that. We told you the story out of Kathmandu, Nepal, where 20 and 30-year-olds stormed their parliamentary complex because the government banned Facebook and Instagram and WhatsApp and WeChat and all the nonsense. They tried to overthrow the government based on social media. So don't tell me there's not a mental health crisis that is global. It's not unique. Unlike drugs, it's not unique to America, where we snort up and smoke up more cocaine and methamphetamine and marijuana than any place on the planet. No, the mental illness issue is global. And until we begin to get serious about it and stop just providing lip service, we're going to have, I don't see it being repaired. But again, I'm the guy that always thinks that the glass is half empty as opposed to being half full. Let's go ahead and take a break. And I promise you now, we will get to Kamala Harris's book, because there's some interesting excerpts that I'll read to you where she absolutely throws her boss under the bus, her former boss, Joe Biden, his wife, the administration. And you would think, to read at least the excerpts, that Kamala Harris had nothing to do with her own defeat, despite the fact that she was a failed 2020 presidential candidate who couldn't get past Iowa, literally couldn't get past Iowa. Despite what many thought back then was her best debate night, that was the night where she threw her soon-to-be boss under the bus and almost implied that he was a racist because there was a little girl in Oakland who had to be bused. And you, Joe Biden, she said that night, were pals with the guys that wanted to stop busing. And do you know who that little girl was, Joe? It was me. And everybody said, oh, that was her breakout moment. And a week later, she pulled out of Iowa. She couldn't even participate in the Iowa caucus. That's how bad she was in 2020. And the only reason she was on the ticket in 2024 was because of James Clyburn cut a deal that assured that Ketanji Brown Jackson would be on the Supreme Court
and Kamala Harris will be the next vice president of the United States. It's the only reason it chose the president, because of the deal that Clyburn made to support him in South Carolina. And that's why the Democrats start, for the first time, or maybe the second time in probably my life, certainly in my lifetime, maybe in the entire 20th and 21st century, the primary in the Democratic Party now starts in South Carolina and not traditionally in Iowa. And they all did it for Joe Biden because they knew he could not win Iowa. And they had their boy Clyburn waiting to endorse him in a very black state, 27% African-American. And African-American Congressman Joe Clyburn was going to say, vote for Joe, and they did. And Bernie had his world turned upside down. Quick timeout. We'll come right back. It's the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1, AM 1180, KERN.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Thursday edition, Clay Travis, Buck Sexton Show. Will break down the absolute latest, the ongoing fallout of the awful murder of Irina Zaruska in Charlotte. Also, the battle heats up for what's going to happen on Capitol Hill when it comes to all of Trump's nominees. All that and more, Thursday edition, Clay and Buck.
The Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show, live 9 to noon. News Talk 96.1
Armstrong
and
and Getty
AM
is not
1180
live,
KERN.
Attention, Medicare benefit.
Can't find what live?
Armstrong and Getty.
No, they're not live.
Yeah, apparently not, because I turned on at 1:30. And
No,
were
they're a
talking
morning
about-
show at the same time as Scott, so it's a pre-recording that gets played right afterwards.
I knew that, actually.
Yeah.
I should have known that. I was on their show once.
Yeah.
When I worked at Clear Channel, which was part of them, and I was the news director, they sent me to Sacramento to learn, I don't know what I was supposed to learn. I didn't learn crap. But they put me on their show. I did like a half an hour. I read the news for like a half an hour on their show. It was pretty
Nice.
cool.
Yeah, no, I think the only one that's live might be Clay and Buck, outside of you and Scott, obviously.
From 9 to 12?
Yeah, because even Charlie Kirk isn't live. Charlie is right now from 3 to 6 since it gets replayed.
Yeah.
Actually,
I
it
knew
may
that.
be from
I
noon
knew
to
that.
3.
I think he's on.
I know it's a
out of?
pre-recording. I don't know what time it is, but I know it's a pre-recording.
Yeah. Yeah. Where is he out of? Was he out of?
Salem,
Salem?
I think.
Salem what?
Salem News Network.
No, what city, state?
Oh, that I'm not 100% sure. Give me a sec, I'll find out.
And eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at tra.com or call 800-575.
I'm reading here Arizona.
Arizona?
That's what I'm reading. He was from Chicago originally, but moved to Arizona.
Yeah.
Real people.
Must qualify for enrollment. Results may vary.
Reporting live again from the Santa Margarita Ranch. We're receiving reports that this Christmas, you're invited to climb aboard the enchanting Pacific Coast Railroad's Jingle Bell Express for a one-of-a-kind journey from the Central Coast to Santa's Village. Everyone, including this astute reporter, knows that the only way for non-elves to get to the North Pole is on real trains, and theirs include original Disney train cars. It's also being reported that on your journey, you'll pass through wonderful wonders of Christmas lights and sights. Then when you arrive at Santa's Village, there will be a captivating Christmas-themed magic show, a charming Christmas market, adorable pony rides, and more food, fun, and frivolity than ever. This just in, a reminder that the Jingle Bell Express only runs for a limited time from November 28th to December 21st, and tickets sell out fast. But don't worry if your plans change, because this reporter has it on good authority that your tickets can change too. So make sure you reserve your seats on the Jingle Bell Express by going to christmas@themargarita.com before the Christmas train passes you by.
You're listening to The Ralph Bailey Show. Catch me weekday morning 6 to 9 a.m. on First Look with Scott Cox, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
So Kamala Harris's book, 107 Days, alluding to the time that she had to run for president, which, really encapsulates who she is, because that's clearly, in my opinion at least, an implication. And I don't know what's going on behind the scenes,
Maybe her publishers insisted on that. Maybe her agent insisted on that. But it is kind of an implication. I only had, she really would have wanted, I only had 107 days. That's the implication. And wait till you hear some of these excerpts. And I am really, really torn because I want to read this thing, but I don't want to give her a nickel because she is just now proven that not only is she not a leader, not only is she an incompetent politician, she's a smart woman. You can't deny that. She's a graduate of one of the finest historically Black colleges in the nation. I mean that, Howard University. I often joke that it's certainly not Morehouse, but it is a great historically Black college. It's produced Felicia Rashad, and that's a horrible example, but a significant amount of African-American contributors. But she's just a despicable human being, as you will find after I read some of these excerpts. One reads, it's Joe and Jill's, this is regarding the decision to run again in 24. It's Joe and Jill's decision. We all said that like a mantra, as if we'd been hypnotized. Was it grace or was it recklessness? In retrospect, I think it was recklessness. The stakes were simply too high. This wasn't a choice that should have been left to an individual's ego, an individual's ambition. It should have been more than a personal decision. Lady, you ain't crap. You really aren't, because you were right there. And again, I'm guilty of making comparisons to fiction and real life. And this really isn't a comparison between fiction and real life. This really happens in real life. But it just, when she said that, it reminded me of a Star Trek episode where Kirk and Spock are arguing. Kirk wants to go down to the planet, and Spock's like, I'm not going to allow that to happen. And Kirk's like I would say to Chris when he pisses me off, I beg your pardon. And Spock's like, look, I know it's your job to run the ship, and you get to make all the decisions. But as the vice president or executive officer, first exec, it's my job to protect the ship and to protect you. So I'm going and you're not. And Kirk was like, you're right. Lead the landing party. Well, that happens on ships where the executive officer has to tell the captain, I can't let you do this. This is stupid. You're putting not only you, but our ship and our men in danger. That's your job. And as the vice president of the United States, or even as a friend to a man who you feel is making a mistake, it is your responsibility to have the cojones, to have the guts to look him dead in the eye and say, Joe, you have to do what you have to do. But I'm here to tell you, you're making a grave mistake. We believe that Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. We don't have time to roll the dice. And I believe that you should step aside. Now, again, I can't tell you to do that, but as your vice president or as your running mate, I would strongly suggest you've defeated Donald Trump. You've done what you've come here to do. Take Jill, work on Hunter, go back to Delaware, and bask in the fact that you're the only human being on the planet that stopped this man. But instead, Kamala either thought perhaps she could be the successor or just didn't have the leadership to say these things. And then after the fact is going to say that he should have had the decision on his own and that it was, quote, recklessness of him to run again. Well, if it was recklessness, how could you run with him? And let me tell you something. I don't know much. And maybe I'm not even here to see this played out. She ain't never, ever. She ain't never, ever. That woman couldn't get elected dog catcher because now the Democratic Party, after reading this, and this is just one paragraph. After the break, I'll read you another. But can you imagine if this is just two excerpts, what is filled throughout this book, where this woman completely walks away from any responsibility? Lady, you had $1 billion. It might have just been 107 days, but $1 billion goes a long way in 107 days. And you got swept in all the major states, all the key states. This wasn't 14-10. This wasn't 21-14. This was 54-10, lady. It wasn't close. It is remarkable that she has completely written off her political career. We'll take a time out. You'll hear the other excerpts after the break. It's the Ralph Bailey Show on a fateful Wednesday, right here on News Talk 96.1.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
This is an SRN News special report. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Charlie Kirk, a conservative activist and close ally of President Trump, who played an influential role in rallying young Republican voters, was shot and killed Wednesday at a Utah college event in which the governor called a political assassination carried out from a rooftop. A person of interest was in custody, officials said. This is a dark day for our state. It's a tragic day for our nation, said Utah Governor Spencer Cox. I want to be very clear, this is a political assassination. Authorities did not immediately identify the person in custody or motive or any criminal charges, but the circumstances of the shooting drew renewed attention to an escalating threat of political violence in the United States. This has been an SRN News special report.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. From the KERN Newsroom, your live and local news update on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
I'm Bill Robbins. A man has been sentenced to 11 years behind bars in the case of the Superior Grocers homicide. It happened in the store parking lot on New Year's Day 2023 after Demetrius Ford Jr. threw a punch. An employee hit his head on the concrete. It all happened when Ford got mad at an employee for taking a picture of him and his truck. A man accused of raping a massage parlor employee in downtown Bakersfield is facing 6 felony charges, including rape, second-degree robbery, and other offenses. Javier Quintero allegedly entered the business, pushed the victim into a chair, and sexually assaulted her. She says she didn't resist because she feared for her life. Quintero is due in court Thursday and Friday. I'm Bill Robbins in the KERN Newsroom with news every half hour or when it breaks on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code CHIEF to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code CHIEF for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code CHIEF for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
Thursday's Armstrong and Getty Show. How did Kamala Harris write a book when there's no indication she could read a book? Anyway, we'll have more highlights from that.
Oh, that was harsh. Plus, Putin continuing to poke NATO in the eye, teetering on the brink of a wider war. What is going on with that? So much happening in the news. We'll have it for you on the next Armstrong and Getty Show.
Weekdays noon to 2 on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
I'm JR Flores. Catch my show, The JR Show, weekdays at 2 p.m. Now,
back to the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
5:31 on this horrendous Wednesday, 10th day of September. We have not received any new news on the assassination of Charlie Kirk other than as reported a few minutes ago. They do have a suspect or a person of interest. The initial man that was pointed out was not the shooter. He was arrested for obstruction of justice, which again is normally failing to identify oneself or hindering an investigation in some way.
I got something for you.
What do you got?
Just released a couple minutes ago. The person that was taken into custody in the shooting of the investigation has been released by the FBI.
That was the first man.
Is the first man?
Is that what you're alluding to? The grim?
It just says Kash Patel has announced that the person whom was taken into custody in relation to Charlie Kirk shooting has been released. It does not specify which one. I'm assuming that it's the first one.
Yeah.
That they originally thought was the shooter.
But Charlie Grimm or something?
Yeah.
Because JR and I both heard that live on Fox.
Right.
Where a friend of his said, and they took it live. In fact, it was during the Martha McCallum show, and she broke away from an interview to go to this guy being interviewed. And we all thought he was a nut, the guy they interviewed, because he was like kind of hysterical. And he was like, I know that's not the guy. I know Charlie Grimm. He's just an old grifter. He don't have enough money to buy a gun like that, nor could he shoot so like that. That ain't him. And then they cut away from it because he was ranting so badly. And at that point, everybody was like, how could they get it wrong in a throng of people like that? If somebody pointed out who the shooter was, how could they have possibly gotten it wrong? And in fact, they did. So again, it's unclear whether that was the initial man who we were told was later jailed for obstruction of justice, or whether that was in fact the second man who they no, and I should not use, by the way, the term suspect. There's a significant difference between a suspect and a person of interest. For example, if your husband dies tonight of a gunshot wound in your home and you're there, you are immediately a person of interest. Doesn't make you a suspect, but just by proximity and relationship and just history of domestic violence, the husband or the wife is immediately a person of interest. When Mr. Simpson came back from Chicago, he was not a suspect. He was a person of interest until they began to interview him. And you may remember, even when they took him off, they initially put him in handcuffs. And then his attorney was like, well, if he's a person of interest, why you got him in handcuffs? And they literally took him out of handcuffs and took him down to Parker Center in the back of a police car. But he was technically not a suspect until after they got to interview him and saw the cuts on his hands, et cetera. So there's a significant difference. But we'll try to nail that down before we get out of here at 6 o'clock. But, and if just for, I don't want to say old time sakes, but just for his memory, if you would like to hear Charlie Kirk, we are playing one of his broadcasts coming up at the top of the hour, as we do while he was alive. Meantime, getting back to the former vice president, who seemingly wants to walk away from any responsibility that was hers, which, you know, isn't surprising because I heard the idiots on The View, and it just amazes me how stupid these women are. There's another topic that I'll talk about. I probably won't have any time, or maybe get into it tomorrow, but just some of the incredibly, ridiculously stupid things they say. And you shouldn't be surprised because it's a political show that's run by ABC News, and the host isn't Jake Tapper. It isn't Martha McCallum. It's a comedian. It is literally a comedian who, think about that. A comedian is heading what is essentially a political show. If there is a political lead story, The View is going to lead with it. And it's Whoopi Goldberg, who is the ringleader. And
Another member of this panel is also a comedian. Joy Behar was, I thought, an extremely funny comedian in the 70s and the 80s. She's, I believe, literally 80 years old. And you've got Alyssa Farrah Griffith, who actually worked in the Pentagon and worked in the Trump administration. You've got Sunny Hostin, who is a former federal agent, but she's so incredibly left that all her intelligence, because she's clearly an intelligent woman, you don't become a federal prosecutor if you're stupid. But her Trump derangement syndrome is so bad that even she says stupid things. And then you've got the Sarah woman, who I don't know what her background is, but it's certainly not in politics. So you've got these women who are being coached by producers in the background, and yet they get off script and they just say some of the dumbest things in the world. So Joy at one point said, America just isn't going to elect a woman president. That's partly what it was. Well, Joy, let me remind you, in 2016, Hillary Clinton got the most votes. More Americans voted for the woman than voted for the man. Now, don't blame Donald Trump because Hillary Clinton ran a horrendous campaign and ignored states that Democrats traditionally win. She just assumed she'd win Wisconsin, so why are we going to Green Bay? We're not. And she lost. We always win Pennsylvania. I'm not going to Philly, and she lost. So don't give me this crap about Kamala Harris lost because America's not ready for a woman, when in fact, in the year 2016, more Americans voted for the woman than they did the man. Which, of course, spurred this whole let's get rid of the Electoral College, which ain't going to happen. Because if you do that, then presidential candidates will campaign in Texas, Florida, California, New York, Illinois. They will never see Wyoming. They will never see Montana. They will certainly never go to Alaska. Are you kidding me? The Electoral College is one of the most important parts of our electoral process. Abso-freaking-lutely. Now back to the traitor, Kamala Harris. Here's another excerpt. On his worst day, he was more deeply knowledgeable, more capable of exercising judgment, and far more compassionate than Donald Trump. Did you just hear what this woman said? That on Joe's worst day, which would be considered, let's say, the debate. Because Kamala, if there's a worse day than the day that he had at the debate, how would a publisher even let you print that? That on Joe's worst day, he's more knowledgeable than Trump. Well, Kamala, I don't know if you're aware of this, it's been in all the papers, but we watched it. And based on what you're saying, apparently that wasn't Joe's worst day. And we saw the two men standing next to one another. And let's just, for craps and giggles, say that that was Joe's worst day. Are you trying to convince us, Kamala, that he was better than Trump on that day? Or is there another worse day that you're alluding to? Woman, you have... There are no words. There are no words. On his worst day, he was more deeply knowledgeable and more capable of exercising judgment than Donald Trump. Okay. All right. Okay. I'm not done. Believe it or not, there's more. I got to buy this book. I got to buy this book. Listen to this. But at age 81, Joe got tired. I can't even go any further. Kamala, I don't know if you're, well, clearly you're not aware of this. The president doesn't get tired. That can't happen. That cannot happen. I'm sorry. Hillary was the one that coined the phrase. Who's going to be there to answer the call at 3 a.m.? The president can't get tired. He's the leader of the free world. He's got the nuclear code when he's sleeping. He cannot get tired. And what she's alluding to, as I'll read in just a minute, she's alluding to the fact that a week prior to the debate, the debacle, he had been in Europe, he had been traveling. But what she and other Democrats won't tell you when they present this insanely ridiculous argument, he'd been home for a week. Don't you remember when he went in the cave? He went to Camp David and rehearsed for a week. Now, granted, I was 17 years old, but I've been to Europe. And believe me, what is it called? God dang it. I'm an old man. When you're in a time zone, different time zones, you get
Jet lag.
Jet lag. The dude is losing his fastball, Chris. What was it yesterday? I couldn't come up with racial profiling.
Yep.
I couldn't come up with racial profiling. Today, I can't come up with jet lag. Y'all just gonna have to deal with me as I grow old. But jet lag's real. I came home from Europe 2 days before my birthday on August 1st. It was the day that Thurman Munson, Ed Skelly was there to welcome John and I back from a trip to Europe. We were there for a month. And the first thing he told us was Thurman Munson died in a plane crash. And we went home. I got home at 4:30, and my mom had dinner ready for me. My sisters, my whole family was there. Mrs. Sewsbury, all my mom's friends were there to welcome me home. Been gone a month. I was 17 years old. I ate dinner. By 6 o'clock, I was asleep. I woke up the next day literally at about 4 in the afternoon. I had damn near slept for 24 hours. And I got mad at my mom. I said, how could you let me sleep for 24 hours? And she was like, you don't remember me waking you up and you sitting on the side of the bed and then saying, no, I think I'm going to go back to sleep. And I was like, no, I don't remember that at all. But a week of jet lag? Come on, y'all. Y'all have traveled internationally. You don't have jet lag for a week. Maybe a day, maybe 2 days, maybe even 3 days. But 7 days, we're at Camp David. There's no photographers. He can sleep as long as he wants. That's a ridiculous assertion. And it just can't happen. But at age 81, Joe got tired. That's when his age showed in physical and verbal stumbles. The debate happened right after 2 back-to-back trips to Europe and a flight to the West Coast for a Hollywood fundraiser. Oh, we remember the Hollywood fundraiser, Kamala. We remember that. Joe, we've got to leave the stage now, Joe. Joe, wave to the people. Obama was on the stage. He's doing the politician thing, saying goodnight, and they're standing next to him as Joe, just like this. And Obama is standing next to him doing what politicians do at the end of an evening, and he's waving, and he's waving, and he finally looks over, and there's Joe. And Obama literally has to walk over to the side of the stage, and he pretends like he's putting his arm around him when he's actually doing the Sandman Sims. See, there was a show called Showtime at the Apollo. And when the act was bad, it was an audition show. And when the act is bad, there was a black dancer called Sandman Sims. And he would come on and tap dance with a hook and literally hook the bad act off the stage. So that's the illusion for the Caucasian members of our audience. So like Sandman Sims, Obama's pretending to like hug him when he's actually like, come on, Joe, we got to leave now. It's time to go. And Joe shuffles off to Buffalo. Unbelievable. And that's when the dam burst. If you remember, that's when George Clooney fessed up. That's balls. I don't always agree with George Clooney. I like George Clooney. He seems like a cool cat, married well, late in life. He's got beautiful daughters, liberal. And I'd love to visit his place in Lake Como in Italy. But that takes balls, where he said, screw it. I'm going to speak out. That's not the Joe Biden I knew that night. where Biden didn't even know who he was. And not because he's not up on pop culture, because Clooney was a star in the 20th century when Joe still had a little sense to him, but they're friends. They have a relationship, and Joe didn't know who he was. And that's where Clooney was like, I can't sign off on this. The guy doesn't know who I am. I can't do it. Let's go ahead and take our final break of the night. We'll come back. We'll give you the latest that we know about Charlie Kirk and the horrible assassination in Utah, Orem, Utah. And obviously, we'll focus on that a little bit tomorrow and as we get new information on the shooter. But in the meantime, keep it locked because we are airing past shows of Mr. Kirk and his memory coming up at the top of the hour. So keep it locked right here on News Talk 96.1, AM 1180, KERN, and we're streaming live at kernradio.com.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. It's the JR Show.
Have you guys been down California Avenue lately between Real Road and Stockdale? My goodness, the construction is an absolute mess. You can't get in and out of businesses during certain times. It rotates. Nobody is notifying anybody about when roads are going to be open. The city has dropped the ball on this. Seriously, it took me 15 minutes just to get home from work. I live right across the street. I could have walked home faster. And the worst part is, it's going to last till the end of October.
The JR Show, weekdays at 2 p.m.
When your business technology breaks down, you need help fast, and you need it from the people who understand your local market. That's one of the main reasons we've teamed up with Adaptive Networks, because we have a unique business, because when our IT goes down, you hear nothing, dead air, and we're dead. Adaptive Networks isn't some faceless call center in another state. They're right here in our community, with local technicians who know Kern County businesses inside and out. And while other IT companies make you wait hours or even days for support, we just can't afford that. Adaptive Networks delivers lightning fast response times. We're talking minutes, not hours, because when your systems are down, every minute counts. Their team doesn't just fix your problem quickly. They treat you like the neighbor you are. Real people, real solutions, real results. Call Adaptive Networks today, 661-241-0638, or visit adaptive-net.com. Adaptive Networks, your local IT experts, always here when you need them.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-1783. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at tra.com or call 800-575-1783. That's 800-575-1783. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Must qualify for enrollment. Results may vary.
Get ready, Bakersfield. It's time to set the stage for the Ultimate Cooking Challenge. The Chopped Challenge cooking competition returns to the Kern County Fair on September 19th. Watch as teams of high school students and school nutrition directors.
I want to mention that.
I don't think they will. I mean, they're just going to say he's a political activist and he's known for what he does on the college campuses and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, they won't mention
They may say that he was on radio and stuff too, but
here locally.
Yeah, I doubt they'll say locally, but they'll probably mention he has a radio show.
Then you know why Smokey tells you when he sees you passing through. Remember, please be careful, it's the least that you can do.
Don't play with matches, don't play with fire.
After 80 years of learning his wildfire prevention tips, Smokey Bear lives within us all. Learn more at SmokeyBear.com, and remember,
only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
The Charlie Kirk Show, weekdays at 6 p.m. on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. Now, back to the Ralph Bailey Show.
Final segment of literally, in my 21 years of doing radio by myself, one of the hardest shows I've ever had to do. And I'm not trying to imply that I had some special relationship with Charlie Kirk. I've never met the man. I've never just talked with him. He is part of our team, and you will hear him in just a matter of minutes, one of our prior programs, obviously. But I was completely shaken up by this for several reasons. Obviously, he's a man in my industry. And believe it or not, I think just about all of us in this industry, on no matter what level, have received death threats. I've had text messages, I know where you live, and I'm going to beat the crap out of you. So that was one of my initial responses, like, could this happen on a local level? And then just the fact that the man was 31 years of age with young kids and a young wife. You know, it's like what I say, and maybe this is a horrible time to say it, but life sucks. It really does. The capricious nature of life, the absolute, you know, as I said, Sarah Wallace was my favorite teacher of all time. And over her door, she had a sign that said, "Life is not fair." And that is the God's honest truth. The fact that we see infants die of cancer and this indiscriminate violence, life sucks. And that's what makes the joy of life so wonderful. I'm not a depressed person. I have joys in my life. I cannot wait to get out on the golf course this weekend. And I don't give a damn what I shoot. I just want to be out in the sunshine and playing the game that I love. Those are the blips. Those are the blips. And we all have to suffer the valleys. And, you know, those of us that are blessed simply have more blips than valleys. But we all have struggles. And I think that's where we have failed so many of our young people. We have gone so far out of our way to, with all great intentions, to protect and be that safety net for our children and our grandchildren. We forgot how we were raised. I always say kids today couldn't spend a week growing up in the 70s, drinking water out of a hose on the side of your house and climbing trees and fighting and roughhousing and falling out of trees and skinning your knees, running around on your sister's big wheel, and just the roughhousing that we did. Because today kids are in the house. When we grew up, nobody wanted to be in the house. You screw around and be in the house, your mother's got you mopping the kitchen floor next time you look up. But the thing that rocked my day more than anything is that this incredible random violence is running rampant. That it's not just school children in a church. It's not just mentally ill folks getting back at the school that they attended. It can be someone who has a message, a man who was touched by God, in my opinion, to express his opinion. As we talked about at the top of the show, as a high school kid, he worked for a U.S. Senate race. I just don't know many high school kids that get involved in their local city council race, let alone a statewide Senate race as a high school kid. He didn't like the prices of the food in the cafeteria. He led a revolt that changed the cafeteria. Now, that's obviously a tiny thing, but for a high school kid, the cafeteria food is right up there among your priorities. And how many kids like cafeteria food? Very few. But how many go out of their way with all that they're doing with sports and drama and this and that, lead a revolt to actually make a change? My point being, this kid was destined. He was almost ordained to be an influencer. And to think that at the age of 31, he had the ear of the president of the United States, the leader of the free world, the things that this kid was about to do for the next 30, 40 years, he might have been president of the United States one day for all we know. Literally. And now his two children don't have a father, and his wife has to raise these kids on her own. It is just a tragic day.
not only for the Kirk family, but unfortunately, I think for our nation. We have a pandemic that we are not dealing with, and it is costing lives, whether it's a 23-year-old refugee from Ukraine, or whether it's a 31-year-old influencer, or whether it's Steve Scalise at a softball game who gets shot, whether it's Gabby Giffords who's just trying to give a speech in Arizona who gets shot, whether it's Paul Pelosi who's wandering around his house, gets bopped on the head with a hammer. This violence is perhaps not repairable until we get serious about getting a handle on mental health. Fortunately, that's going to do it for us. It's one of the few times in my entire career that I am truly happy that this show is over. And I hope you'll keep it locked and listen to Mr. Kirk in his memory as we play that for you. Tomorrow's a Thursday. Mike Turnipseed, Daniel Petrie. For Chris Burdick, I'm Ralph Bailey. That's what's going on. I'll wrap to you tomorrow.
This is AM 1180 KERN.
I'm not going to do Kirk. I'm not going to do Kirk. I'll do the girl.
You want to do the girl? I figured Kamala.
Oh, yeah, Kamala would be good. No, I want to do the girl. I want to do the girl. You ready?
You're good.
Hang on, let me call my car. I've got a piece of chicken left from last night and some rice in the refrigerator.
You should be fine with that.
You think that'll do me?
Yeah, when was it cooked?
I got it last night. I bought it from Trump Deal. I got a 2-piece. I got a 3-piece, and I only ate 2 pieces. You think a piece of chicken and some rice will get me through? Because I was thinking about ordering a la carte from Mom's and getting like their drumstick and some like cabbage on the side.
There you go. If you can get something small that won't cost you a whole ton, I'd probably go that route.
Because I'm thinking I'm going to get home, I'm going to eat that piece of chicken, eat the rice, and be like, hey, I'm still hungry. And I normally just go across the street and get a sandwich, but I had that for lunch. So yeah, I think I'm gonna call Mom's. I don't know why I'm talking about my dinner with you. Because I'm a very strange old man. What am I doing? Calling my car. Perfect. 5 minutes. All right, what am I doing? What do I do when I say the girl?
Promo, the girl, or Kamala,
Yeah.
whichever one you wanted.
I'll do the girl. I'll do Kamala tomorrow. 3, 2. Now that I've seen the complete video of the 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee who was murdered on a Charlotte rail, beyond just random nature of the violence, the worst thing is people literally got up and walked away as she sat there bleeding to death. That is almost as tragic as her murder. Did I do that yesterday?
I think you did.
I think I did too.
Like halfway through that, I was like, I think we did this one already.
I think I did. Scrap that. I'll do Kamala. Throw
Go
that away. 3, 2. So they're releasing excerpts of Kamala Harris's new book, 107 Days, which of course is her implication. I didn't have time. But boy, howdy, not to anybody's surprise, I guess, she throws Joe and Jill and the administration totally under the bus. Just Turnipseed and Petrie?
Yes.
And the latest on Charlie Kirk. 3, 2, it's that man again. Look what's coming up on the Thursday TRBS. Obviously, we'll have the latest on the Charlie Kirk assassination and any information on the suspected shooter. And Mr. Turnipseed, Mike Turnipseed, and Daniel Petrie will join us as well. All that, me at 3. It's TRBS, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KRN. I will see you at 3. I'm getting the hell out of here, Jack. Like I said, I have never been so happy. I really didn't want to come in today. I really didn't. I really, really didn't.
to an employee's truck, and that employee was waiting for the start of his midnight shift. Ford got angry when the employee took a picture of Ford and his vehicle. A man accused of raping a massage parlor employee in downtown Bakersfield is facing 6 felony charges, including rape, second-degree robbery, and other offenses. Javier Quintero allegedly entered the business, pushed the victim into a chair, and sexually assaulted her. She says she didn't resist because she feared for her life. Quintero allegedly stole the woman's purse afterward. He's scheduled to be in court on Thursday and Friday. Local politicians reacting to the shooting of conservative activist Charlie Kirk at an event in Utah. Governor Newsom called the attack disgusting, vile, and reprehensible. Nancy Pelosi said that all Americans should pray for Charlie Kirk's recovery. Vince Fong asked people to join him and his wife as they pray for Charlie and his family. Representative Jim Costa also said that our thoughts and prayers are with Charlie and his family. A man found dead in Mojave has been identified. The Kern County Coroner's Office said the man's name is Benjamin Allen McCleary. He was 58 years old and from Mojave. He was found last Saturday a little after midnight in the 300 block of Trotter Avenue. Cause and manner of death are pending.